Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Rainbow Shakespeare Online 2020. If we were at Highdown, we might be sitting on slightly damp grass tonight, but I think it's going to be a nice evening, a little bit windy, but here we can watch it from the delight of our own home or our own gardens. We had someone on YouTube talking about seeing the whole of Macbeth from her garden last night with her family. So this has been such an exciting experiment in so many ways. We're using a totally different form of art or theatre. It's not live theatre, it's not cinema, it's not television. It's a series of close-ups of people, and so you can actually see what the characters are thinking and feeling. I think as the productions have gone through, we've learned and added things to the characters. The other thing that has been really exciting has been bringing a whole load of new people into Rainbow Shakespeare. We opened it up to the public, and we've had some really wonderful readers, some of whom will be joining you tonight, or joining us tonight. There will be an interval at approximately 9:15, and during that interval we will do what we've done before, which is actually Tim and I will have a chat together about Rainbow Shakespeare and what we do, why we do it. And the other thing is that we have been raising money for next year's production. People ask me, well, how do you pay for Rainbow Shakespeare? Well, we pay for it from the box office, but also what funds we have left to get lighting and hire the stuff from the council and so on. So we're very grateful to all the people who have contributed so far. We've got about another 25% to go from what we hoped we were going to have. So if you can, we will be very grateful. And it's a very special thing doing Shakespeare, and it's magic. And I think As You Like It is one of the most wonderful magic plays. It starts off as a melodrama, and then halfway through, we suddenly go out to the Forest of Arden in the spring and early summer. When we first meet the people who've been exiled to the Forest of Arden, it's very cold and very snowy, and they're trying to make the best of a bad job with the Duke, like a somewhat demented Baden-Powell, trying to cheer everyone up. We start meeting a young man called Orlando, who is having a lot of trouble with his brother and is being done out of his estate. So now, without any more ado, and hoping that you like it, we will now meet Orlando. It's the orchard of Oliver's house, and he is there clearing up the ground with old Adam.
As I remember, Adam, it was upon this fashion bequeathed me by will, charged my brother on his blessing to breed me well, and there begins my sadness. My brother Jacques, he kept at school, and report speaks goldenly of his profit. For my part, he keeps me rustically at home, or, to speak more properly, stays me here at home unkempt. For call you that keeping for a gentleman of my birth, that differs not from the stalling of an ox? His horses are bred better, but I, his brother, gain nothing unto him but growth, for the which his animals on his dunghills are as much bound to him as I. He lets me feed with his hinds, bars me the place of a brother. This is it, Adam, that grieves me, and the spirit of my father, which I think is within me, begins to mutiny against this servitude. I will no longer endure it, though yet I know no wise remedy how to avoid it.
Yonder comes my master, your brother.
Go apart, Adam, and thou shalt hear how he will shake me up.
Enter Oliver, Orlando's brother.
Now, so what make you here?
Nothing. I am not taught to make anything.
What mar you, then, sir?
Marry, sir, I am helping you to mar that which God made, a poor unworthy brother of yours with idleness.
Marry, sir, be better employed, and be naught a while.
Shall I keep your hogs and eat husks with them? What a prodigal portion have I spent that I should come to such penury?
Know you where you are, sir?
Oh, sir, very well. Here in your orchard.
Know you before whom, sir?
Aye, better than him I am before knows me. I know you are my elder brother, and in the gentle condition of blood. You should so know me. I have as much of my father in me as you, albeit I confess your coming before me is nearer to his reverence.
What, boy?
Come, elder brother, you are too young in this.
Wilt thou lay hands on me, villain?
I am no villain. I am the youngest son of Sir Roland de Boys. He was my father, and he is thrice a villain that says such a father begot villains. Wert thou not my brother, I would not take this hand from thy throat till the other had pulled out thy tongue for saying so. Thou hast railed on thyself.
Sweet masters, be patient, for your father's remembrance be at a cord.
Let me go, I say.
I will not till I please. You shall hear me. My father charged you in his will to give me good education. You have trained me like a peasant, obscuring and hiding from me all gentlemanlike qualities. The spirit of my father grows strong in me, and I will no longer endure it. Therefore, allow me. Such exercises may become a gentleman, or give me the poor allotry my father left me by testament. With that, I will go and buy my fortunes.
And what wilt thou do? Beg when that is spent? Well, sir, get you in. I will not be long be troubled with you. You shall have some part of your will. I pray you, leave me.
I will no further offend you than becomes me for my good.
Get you with him, you old dog.
Is old dog my reward? Most true, I have lost my teeth in your service. God be with my old master, he would not have spoken such a word.
Exit Orlando and Adam.
Is it even so? Before you begin to grow on me, I will physic your rankness, and yet give no 1,000 crowns either. Holla, Dennis!
Dennis.
All's your worship.
Seven denters.
Was not Charles, the Duke's wrestler, here to speak with me?
So please you, he is here at the door and importunes access to you.
Call him in. 'Twill be a good way. And tomorrow the wrestling is.
Enter Charles the wrestler.
Yeah, good morning, your worship.
Good Monsieur Charles. What's the new news at the new court?
Well, there's no news at the court, sir, but the old news. That is, the old Duke is banished by his younger brother, the new Duke, and their before loving lords have put themselves in a voluntary exile with him, whose lands and revenues enrich the new Duke. Therefore, he gives them good leave to wander.
Can you tell if Rosalind, the Duke's daughter, be banished with her father?
Oh, no, for the Duke's daughter, her cousin, so loves her that ever been from their cradles bred together that she would have followed her to exile, or have died to stay behind her. She's at the court and no less beloved of her uncle that his own daughter, and never two ladies loved as they do.
Where will the old Duke live?
Well, they say he's already in the Forest of Arden, right? And many merry men with him, and they live like the old Robin Hood of England. As they say, many young gentlemen flock to him every day. And the fleet their time carelessly, as they did in the, golden world.
What, will you wrestle tomorrow before the new Duke?
Oh, Mary, I do, sir. And I came to acquaint you with a matter. I'm given, sir, secretly to understand that your younger brother Orlando hath a disposition to come in disguised against me to try and fall. Tomorrow, sir, I wrestle for my credit, and he that escapes me without some broken limbs shall acquit him well. Now, your brother is but young and tender, and listen, for your love, I would be loath to foil him, as I must for my own honour if he come in. Therefore, out of my love to you, I came hither to acquaint you with all, that either you might stay in from his intendment or brooks with such disgrace will he shall run into. And in that is a thing my own search altogether against my will.
Charles, I thank thee for thy love to me, which thou shalt find I will most kindly requite. I had myself notice of my brother's purpose herein, and have by underhand means laboured to dissuade him from it, but he is resolute. I tell thee, Charles, it is the stubbornest young fellow, full of ambition and envious emulator of every man's good parts, a secret and villainous contriver against me, his natural brother. Therefore, use thy discretion. I had as lief thou didst break his neck as his finger, and thou wert best to look to it, for if thou dost him any slight disgrace, or he do not mightily grace himself on thee, he will never leave thee till he hath taken thy life by some indirect means or other. For I assure thee, and almost with tears I speak it, there is not one so young and villainous this day living. I speak but brotherly of him, for should I anatomize him to thee as he is, I must blush and weep, and thou must look pale and wonder.
I, right, am heartily glad I've came hither to you. If he come tomorrow, I'll give him his payment. If he go alone again, I'll never wrestle for prize more, and so God keep your worship.
Oh, farewell, good Charles.
Charles X.
Bye.
Now will I stir this gamester. I hope I shall see an end of him. For my soul, yet I know not why, hates nothing more than he. Yet he's gentle, never schooled and yet learned, full of noble device, of all sorts enchantingly beloved, and indeed so much in the heart of the world, and especially of my own people, who best know him, that I am altogether misprized. But it shall not be so long. This wrestler shall clear all. Nothing remains but that I kindle the boy thither, which now I'll go about.
We now go to the lawn before the Duke's palace where the wrestling is to take place. Enter Celia, the Duke's daughter, and Rosalind, her cousin.
I pray thee, Rosalind, sweet my coz, be merry.
Dear Celia, I show more mirth than I am mistress of, and would you yet I were merrier? Unless you could teach me to forget a banished father, you must not learn me how to remember any extraordinary pleasure.
Herein I see thou lovest me not with the full weight that I love thee. If my uncle, thy banished father, had banished thy uncle, the Duke my father, so thou hast still been with me, I would have taught my love to take thy father for mine. So wouldst thou, if the truth of thy love to me were so righteously tempered as mine is to thee.
Well, I will forget the condition of my estate to rejoice in yours.
You know my father have no child but I, nor none is like to have. And truly when he dies, thou shalt be his heir. For what he has taken away from thy father perforce, I will render thee again in affection. By mine honour I will, and when I break that oath, let me turn monster. Therefore, my sweet Rose, my dear Rose, be merry.
From henceforth, I will, coz, and devise sports. Let me see. What think you of falling in love?
Marry, I prithee do, to make sport withal. But love no man in good earnest, nor no further in sport, neither then with safety of a pure blush may thou in honour come off again.
At that point, Touchstone the clown enters.
How now, wit, whither wander you?
Mistress, you must come away to your father.
Were you made the messenger?
No, by mine honour, that I was bid to come for you.
Where learned you that oath, fool?
Ah, of a certain knight that swore by his honour they were good pancakes, and swore by his honour the mustard was naught. Now I'll stand to it. The pancakes were naught, and the mustard was good, and yet was not the knight forsworn.
How prove you that in the great heap of your knowledge?
Aye, marry, now unmuzzle your wisdom.
Stand you both forth now, stroke your chins, and swear by your beards that I am a knave.
By our beards, if we have them, thou art.
By my knavery, if I had it, then I were. But you swear by that is not. You are not forsworn. No more was this knight swearing by his honour, for he never had any. Or if he had sworn it away before he saw those pancakes or that mustard.
Prithee, whoest thou means?
One that old Frederick your father loves.
My father's love is enough to honour him. Enough! Speak no more of him. You'll be whipped for taxation one of these days.
The more pity that fools may not speak wisely, that wise men do foolishly.
By my troth, thou sayest true. For since the little wit that fools have was silenced, the little foolery that wise men have makes a great show. Here comes Monsieur Le Beau,
And with his mouth full of news.
which he will put on us as pigeons feed their young.
Then shall we be news crammed.
All the better, we shall be the more marketable.
Le Beau enters.
Bonjour, Monsieur Le Beau, what's the news?
Oh, fair princess, you have lost much good sport.
Sport? Of what colour?
What colour, madam? How shall I answer you?
As wit and fortune will.
Or as the destinies decree.
Well said, that was laid on with a trowel.
If I keep not my rank, then...
Thou losest thy old smell.
You amaze me, ladies. I would have told you of good wrestling, which you have lost the sight of.
You tell us the manner of the wrestling.
I will tell you the beginning, and if it pleases your ladyship, you may see the end. For the best is yet to do, and here, where you are, they are coming to perform it.
Well, the beginning, that is dead and buried.
There comes an old man and his 3 sons.
I could match this beginning with an old tale.
Oh, 3 proper young men of excellent growth and presence. The eldest of the 3 wrestled with Charles, the Duke's wrestler, which Charles in a moment threw him and broke 3 of his ribs, that there is little hope of life in him. So he served the 2nd, and so the 3rd. Yonder they lie, the poor old men, their father, making such pitiful dole over them, that all the beholders take his part with weeping.
Oh, alas!
But what is the sport, monsieur, that the ladies have lost?
Why, this that I speak of.
Thus men may grow wiser every day. The first time I ever heard breaking of ribs was sport for ladies.
Or I promise thee.
But is there any else longs to see this broken music in his sides? Is there yet another dotes upon rib breaking? Shall we see this wrestling cut?
You must if you stay here, for here is the place appointed for the wrestling, and they are ready to perform it.
Yonder, sure they are coming. Let us now stay and see it.
There's a flourish of trumpets. Enter Duke Frederick, Lords, Orlando, Charles, and attendants.
Come on! Since the youth will not be entreated, his own peril on his forwardness.
Is yonder the man?
Even he, madam?
Alas, he is too young. Yet he looks successfully.
How now, daughter and cousin? Are you crept hither to see the wrestling?
Aye, my liege. So please you give us leave?
Yeah, you will take little delight in it, I can tell you. There is such odds again the man. In pity of the challenger's youth, I would fain dissuade him, but he will not be entreated. Speak to him, ladies. See if you can move him.
Call him hither, good Monsieur Le Beau.
Do so. I'll not be by.
Monsieur the Challenger, the princesses call for you.
I attend them with all respect and duty.
Young man, have you challenged Charles the wrestler?
No, fair princess, he is the general challenger. I come but in, as others do, to try with him the strength of my youth.
Young gentleman, your spirits are too bold for your years. You have seen cruel proof of this man's strength. We pray you, for your own sake, to embrace your own safety and give over this attempt.
Do, young sir. Your reputation shall not therefore be misprized. We will make it our suit to the Duke that the wrestling might not go forward.
I beseech you, punish me not with your hard thoughts, wherein I confess myself much guilty to deny so fair and excellent ladies anything. But let your fair eyes and gentle wishes go with me to my trial, wherein, if I be foiled, there is but one shamed that was never gracious, if killed, but one dead that was willing to be so. I shall do my friends no wrong, for I have none to lament me. The world no injury, for in it I have nothing. Only in the world I fill up a place which may be better supplied when I have made it empty.
Oh, the little strength I have, I would it were with you.
And mine, to eke out hers.
Fare you well. Pray heaven I be deceived in you.
Your heart's desires be with you.
Right, come. Where is this young gallant that is so desirous to lie with his mother earth?
Ready, sir, but his will hath in it a more modest working.
You shall try but one fall.
No, warrant your grace. You shall not entreat him to a second, as so mightily persuaded him from a first.
And you mean to mock me? You should have not mocked me before, but come your ways.
Now Hercules be thy speed, young man.
I would I were invisible to catch the strong fellow by the leg.
They wrestle.
Right.
Oh, excellent young man.
If I had a thunderbolt in mine eye, I can tell who should down.
No more!
No!
No!
I beseech your grace. I am not yet well breathed.
How dost thou, Jaws?
He cannot speak, my lord.
Bear him away. What is thy name, young man?
Orlando, my liege, the youngest son of Sir Roland de Boys.
Ah, I would thou had been son to some man else. The world esteemed thy father honourable, but I did find him still mine enemy. Thou shouldst have better pleased me with this deed, hadst thou descended from another house. But fare thee well, thou art a gallant youth. I would thou hadst told me of another father.
He exits with his trade and LeBeau.
Were I my father, cuz, would I do this?
I am more proud to be Sir Roland's son, his youngest son, and would not change that calling to be an adopted heir to Frederick.
My father loved Sir Roland as his soul, and all the world was of my father's mind. Had I known before this young man his son, I should have given him tears unto entreaties ere he should thus have ventured.
Gentle cousin, let us go thank him and encourage him. My father's rough and envious disposition sticks me at heart. Sir, you have well deserved. If you do keep your promises and love but justly, as you exceeded all promise, your mistress shall be happy.
Gentleman,
Gives him a chain from her neck.
wear this for me. One out of suits with fortune that could give more, but that her hand lacks means. Shall we go, cuz?
Aye, fare you well, fair gentleman.
Can I not say, I thank you? My better parts are all thrown down, and that which stands up here is but a quintain, a mere lifeless block.
He calls us back. My pride fell with my fortunes. I'll ask him what he would. Did you call, sir? Sir, you have wrestled well and overthrown more than your enemies.
Will you go, cuz?
Have with you. Fare you well.
Exeunt Rosalind and Celia.
What passion hangs these weights upon my tongue? I cannot speak to her, yet she urged conference. Oh, poor Orlando, thou art o'erthrown, or Charles, or something weaker masters thee.
Good sir, I do in friendship counsel you to leave this place. albeit you have deserved high commendation, true applause and love, yet such is now the Duke's condition, that he is miscourteous all that you have done.
I thank you, sir. And pray you tell me this. Which of the two was daughter of the Duke that was here at the wrestling?
Neither his daughter, if we judge by manners, but yet, indeed, the lesser is his daughter, the other is daughter to the banished Duke, and here detained by the usurping uncle to keep his daughter company, whose loves are dearer than the natural bond of sisters. But I can tell you that of late, this Duke had taken displeasure against his gentle niece, grounded upon no other argument but that the people praise her for her virtues and pity her for her good father's sake. And, on my life, his malice against the lady will suddenly break forth. Sir, fare you well. Hereafter, in a better world than this, I shall desire more love and knowledge of you.
I rest much bounden to you. Fare you well.
The bow goes off.
Thus must I from the smoke into the smother, from tyrant Duke unto a tyrant brother, but heavily rosin-lined.
And he goes back. The palace enter Celia and Rosalind.
Why, cousin, why, Rosaline? Cupid have mercy, not a word.
Not one to throw at a dog.
No, thy words are too precious to be cast away upon curs. Throw some of them at me. Come, lame me with reasons.
Then there were two cousins laid up, when the one should be lamed with reasons and the other mad without any.
But is it all for your father?
No, some of it is for my child's father. Oh, how full of briars is this working world today.
They are but burrs, cousin, thrown upon thee in holiday foolery. If we walk not in the trodden paths, our very petticoats will catch them.
I could shake them off my coat. These burrs are in my heart.
Hem them away.
I would try, if I could cry hem and have him.
Come, come, wrestle with thy affections.
Oh, they take the part of a better wrestler than myself.
But turning these jests out of service, let us talk in good earnest. Is it possible, on such a sudden, you should fall into so strong a liking with old Sir Roland's youngest son?
The Duke, my father, loved his father dearly.
Doth it therefore ensure that you should love his son dearly? By this kind of chase, I should hate him, but my father hated his father dearly. Yet I hate not Orlando.
No, faith, hate him not for my sake.
Why should I not? Does he not deserve well?
Let me love him for that, and you do love him because I do. Look, here comes the Duke.
With his eyes full of anger.
Duke Frederick and his lords re-enter.
Mistress, dispatch you with your safest haste and get you from our court.
Me, uncle?
You, cousin, within these 10 days, if thou beest found so near our public court as 20 miles, thou diest for it.
I do beseech your grace, let me the knowledge of my fault bear with me. If I myself, I hold intelligence or have acquaintance with mine own desires, if that I do not dream or be not frantic, as I do trust I am not, then, dear uncle, never so much as in a thought unborn did I offend your highness.
Yeah. Thus do all traitors. If their purgation did consist in words, they are as innocent as grace itself. Let it suffice thee that I trust thee not.
Yet your mistrust cannot make me a traitor. Tell me whereon the likelihood depends.
Thou art thy father's daughter, there's enough.
So was I when your highness took his dukedom. So was I when your highness banished him. Treason is not inherited, my lord, or if we did derive it from our friends, what's that to me? My father was no traitor. Then good, my liege, mistake me not so much to think my poverty is treacherous.
Dear sovereign, hear me speak.
Aye, aye, Celia, we stayed her for your sake. else had she with her father ranged along.
I did not then entreat her to have her stay. It was your pleasure and your own remorse. I was too young that time to value her, but now I know her. If she be a traitor, why, so am I. We have slept together, ate together, and wheresoever we went, like Juno's swans, still we went coupled and inseparable.
Oh, she's too subtle for thee, and her smoothness, her very silence, and her patience speak to the people, and they pity her. Thou art a fool. She robs thee of thy name, and thou wilt show more bright and seem more virtuous when she is gone. Then open not thy lips. Firm and irrevocable is my doom, which I have passed upon her. She's banished.
Pronounce that sentence then on me, my liege. I cannot live without her company.
You are a fool. You, niece, provide yourself. If you outstay the time, upon mine honour, and in the greatness of my word, you die.
Duke Frederick and his lords exit.
Oh, my poor Rosalind, whither wilt thou go? Wilt thou change fathers? I will give thee mine. I charge thee, be not thou more grieved than I am.
I have more cause.
Thou hast not, cousin. Prithee, be cheerful. Knowst thou not the Duke hath banished me, his daughter?
That he hath not.
No, have not. Rosalind lacks then the love which teacheth thee that thou and I are one. Shall we be sundered? Shall we part, sweet girl? No. Let my father seek another heir. Therefore devise with me how we may fly, whither to go and what to bear with us. And do not seek to take your charge upon you, to bear your griefs yourself and leave me out. But by this heaven, now at our sorrows pale, say what thou canst, I'll go along with thee.
Why? Whither shall we go?
To seek my uncle in the forest of Arden.
Alas, what danger will it be to us, maids as we are, to travel forth so far? Beauty provoketh thieves sooner than gold.
I'll put myself in poor and mean attire, and with a kind of umber smirch my face, the like you do. So shall we pass along, and never sir assailants?
Were it not better, because I am more than common tall, that I did suit me all points like a man, a gallant curtle-axe upon my thigh, a boar spear in my hand, and in my heart lie there what hidden women's fear will have a washing and a marshal outside, and many other mannish cowards have that do outface it with their semblances.
What shall I call thee when thou art a man?
I'll have no worse name than Jove's own page, and therefore look you call me Ganymede. But what will you be called?
Something that hath a reference to my state. No longer Celia, but Aliena.
But, cousin, what if we essayed to steal the clownish fool out of your father's court? Would he not be a comfort to our travel?
He'll go along, the whole wide world for me. Leave me alone to woo him. Let's away and get our jewels and our wealth together. Devise the fittest time and safest way to hide us from pursuit that will be made after my flight. Now go we in content, to liberty, and not to banishment.
They go off together, and the scene now moves to the snowy forest of Arden. Enter Duke Senior, Amiens, and 2 or 3 more lords.
Now, my co-mates and brothers in exile, hath not old custom made this life more sweet than that of painted pomp? Are not these woods more free from peril than the envious court? Here feel we but the penalty of Adam, the season's difference, as the icy fang and churlish chiding of the winter's wind, which, when it bites and blows upon my body, even till I shrink with cold, I smile and say, this is no flattery. These are counselors that feelingly persuade me what I am. Sweet are the uses of adversity, and this our life exempt from public haunt finds tongues in trees, books in the running brooks, sermons in stones, and good in everything. I would not change it.
Happy is your grace that can translate the stubbornness of fortune into so quiet and so sweet a style.
Come, shall we go and kill us venison? And yet it irks me, the poor dappled fools, being native burghers in this desert city, should in their own confines with forked heads have their round haunches gored.
Indeed, my lord, the melancholy Jacques grieves at that, and in that kind swears you do more usurp than doth your brother that had banished you. Today my lord of Amiens and myself did steal behind him as he lay along under an oak, whose antique root peeps out upon the brook that brawls along this wood. To the which place a poor sarcastic stag that from the hunter's aim had taken a hurt, that came to languish. And indeed, my lord, the wretched animal he fought such groans that I discharged its stretch his leaden coat, almost to bursting, and the big round tears coursed one another down his innocent nose in piteous chase. And thus the hairy fool, much marked of the melancholy Jacques, stood on the extremest verge of the swift brook, augmenting it with tears.
But what said Jacques? Did he not moralize at this sequel?
Oh yes, into 1,000 similes. First for his weeping into the needless stream. Poor dear, quoth he, thou makest a testament as worldlings do, giving by some of more to that which had too much. Then there being alone, left and abandoned of his velvet friends, 'tis right, quoth he. Thus misery doth part the flux of company. Anon a careless herd, full of the pasture, jumps along by him, and never stays to greet him. Ay, quoth Jacques, sweep on, you fat and greasy citizens, 'tis just the fashion. Wherefore do you look upon that poor and broken bankrupt there? Thus most effectively, he pierceth through the body of the country, city, court, yea, and of this our life, swearing that we are mere usurpers, tyrants, and what's worse, to fright the animals and to kill them up in their assigned and native dwelling place.
And did you leave him in this contemplation?
We did, my lord, weeping and commenting upon the sobbing deer.
Show me the place. I love to cope him in these sudden fits, for then he's full of matter.
I'll bring you to him straight.
Find Jacques. Now we go back to the palace where we find a very angry Duke Frederick and his lords. We seem to have lost the line, so you will have to assume that I'm Duke Frederick until he comes back. Can it be possible that no man saw them? It cannot be. Some villains of my court are of consent and sufferance in this.
I cannot hear of any that did see her. The ladies, her attendants of her chamber, saw her a bed, and in the morning early they found the bed untreasured of their mistress.
My lord, the Roynish clown at whom so oft your grace was wont to laugh is also missing. Hesperia, the princess gentlewoman, confesses that she secretly o'erheard your daughter and her cousin much commend the parts and graces of the wrestler that did but lately foil the sinewy Charles. And she believes, wherever they are gone, that youth is surely in their company.
Send to his brother, fetch that gallant hither. I'll make him find him. Do this suddenly, and let not search and inquisition quail to bring him again, these foolish runaways. We now go to Oliver's house, where Orlando and our Adam meet.
Who's there?
What? My young master? Oh, my gentle master. Oh, my sweet master. Oh, you memory of old Sir Roland. Why, what make you here? Why would you be so fond to overcome the bony prizer of the humorous duke? Know you not, master? To some kind of men their graces serve them best as enemies. No more do yours. Your virtues, gentle master, are sanctified and holy traitors to you.
Why? What's the matter?
O unhappy youth, come not within these doors. Within this roof the enemy of your graces lives. Your brother, no brother, yet the son, no, yet not the son. I will not call him son, of him I was about to call his father, hath heard your praises, and this night he means to burn your lodgings where you used to lie, and you within it. If he fail that, he will have other means to cut you off. I overheard him and his practices. This is no place, this is house but butchery. Abhor it, fear it, do not enter it.
Why, whither, Adam, wouldst thou have me go?
No matter whither, so you come not here.
What? Wouldst thou have me go and beg my food? Or with a base and boisterous sword enforce a thievish living on the common road? This I must do, or know not what to do. Yet this I will not do. Do how I can, I will rather subject me to malice of a diverted blood and bloody brother.
But do not so. I have 500 crowns, the thrifty hire I saved under your father, which I did store to be my foster nurse when service should in my old limbs lie lame and unregarded age in corners thrown. Take that, and he that doth the ravens feed, yet providently caters for the sparrow. Be comfort of my age. Here is the gold, and all this I give you. Let me be your servant. Though I look old, I'm strong and lusty, for in my youth I never did apply hot and rebellious liquors to my blood. Therefore my age is as lusty winter, frosty, but kindly. Let me go with you. I'll do the service of a younger man in all your business and necessities.
Oh, good old man, how well in thee appears the constant service of the antique world. Thou art not for the fashion of these times, where none will sweat but for promotion. But come thy ways, we'll go along together, and ere we have thy youthful wages spent, we'll light upon some settled low content.
Aye, master, go on, I will follow thee to the last gasp with true and loyalty. For 17 years, till now almost 80, here I lived. Aye, but they'll live no more. At 17 years may they many their fortunes seek, but at 80 is too late a week. Yet fortune cannot recompense me better than to die well and not my master's debtor.
And Adam trots off after his master Orlando. Once again, we're back in the forest of Arden, where we find Rosalind, now dressed as a boy, playing the part of Ganymede, Celia dressed as a shepherdess, and Touchstone.
Oh, Jupiter, how weary are my spirits. What say you, Touchstone? You're quiet.
I care not for my spirits if my legs were not weary.
I could find in my heart to disgrace my man's apparel and to cry like a woman. But I must comfort the weaker vessel, as doublet and hose ought to show itself courageous to petticoat. Therefore courage, good Aliena.
I pray you bear with me. I cannot go no further.
For my part, I'd rather bear with you than bear you.
Well, this is the forest of Arden.
Aye, now am I in Arden. The more fool I. When I was at home, I was in a better place. But travellers must be content.
Aye, be so, good Touchstone.
Enter Corin, a shepherd, and Silvius, a young landowner.
Look you, who comes here? A young man and an old in solemn talk.
That is the way to make her scorn you still.
Oh, Corin, that thou knewest how I do love her.
I partly guess, for I have loved ere now.
No, Corin, being old, thou canst not guess. though in thy youth thou wast as true a lover as ever sighed upon a midnight pillow. But if thy love were ever like to mine, as sure I think did never man love so. How many actions most ridiculous hast thou been drawn to by thy fantasy?
Into 1,000 that I have forgotten.
Oh, thou didst there then love so heartily. If thou rememberest not the slightest folly that ever love did make thee run into, thou hast not loved. Or if thou hast not sat, as I do now, wearying thy hearer with thy mistress' praise, thou hast not loved. Or if thou hast not broke from company abruptly, as my passion now makes me, thou hast not loved. Oh, Phoebe! Phoebe! Phoebe!
And off he goes.
Oh, alas, poor shepherd! Searching of thy wound, I have by hard adventure found mine own.
And I mine. I remember when I was in love, I broke my sword upon a stone and bid him take that for coming a night to Jane's smile. And I remember the kissing of her back, and the cow's dugs that her pretty chopped hands milked. And I remember the wooing of a peascod instead of her, from whom I took 2 cods, and giving her them again, said with weeping tears, "Wear these for my sake." We that are true lovers run into strange capers, but as all that is mortal in nature, so is all nature in love mortal in folly.
Ah, thou speakest wiser than thou art ware of.
Nay, I shall ne'er be aware of my own whips. I break my shins against it.
Jove, Jove! This shepherd's passion is much upon my fashion.
And mine. It grows something stale with me.
I pray you, one of you question yond man if he for gold will give us any food. I faint almost to death.
Holla, you clown!
Peace, fool. He's not thy kinsman.
Who calls?
Your betters, sir.
Oh, well, sir, are they very wretched?
Peace, I say. Good even to you, friend.
And to you, gentle sir, and to you all.
I prithee, shepherd, if that love or gold can in this desert place by entertainment, bring us where we may rest ourselves and feed. Here is a young maid with travel much oppressed and faints for succour.
Fair sir, I pity her, and wish for her sake more than for mine own. My fortunes were more able to relieve her. But I am shepherd to another man, and I do not share the fleeces that I graze. My master is of a churlish disposition, and little recks find the way to heaven by doing deeds of hospitality. And besides, his coat, his flocks, and pounds of feed are now on sale, and at our sheepcote now, by reason of his absence, there's nothing that you will feed on. But what is, come see, and in my voice most welcome shall you be.
What is he that shall buy his flock and pasture?
Oh, that young swain that you saw here but erewhile, that little cares for buying anything.
I pray thee, if it stand with honesty, buy thou the cottage, pasture, and the flock, and thou shalt have to pay it of us.
And we will mend thy wages. I like this place, and willingly could waste my time in it.
Assuredly, the thing is to be sold. Go with me. If you like upon report the soil, the profit, and this kind of life, I will your very faithful feeder be, and buy it with your gold right suddenly.
And off they go. Another part of the forest, enter Jaques, followed by Amiens and others. Amiens sings.
Under the greenwood tree, who loves to lie with me, and turn his merry notes unto the sweet bird's throat. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy, but winter and rough weather.
More, more, I prithee more.
It will make you melancholy, Monsieur Jaques.
I thank it. More, I prithee, more. I can suck melancholy out of a song as a weasel sucks eggs. More, I prithee, more.
My voice is ragged. I know I cannot please you.
I do not desire you to please me. I do desire you to sing. Come, more, another stanza. Call you 'em stanzas?
What you will, Monsieur Jacques.
Nay, I care not for their names, they owe me nothing. Will you sing?
More at your request than to please myself.
Well then, if ever I thank any man, I'll thank you. Come, sing, and you that will not, hold your tongues.
Well, I'll end the song. Sirs, cover the while. The Duke will drink under this tree. He hath been all this day to look for you.
And I have been all this day to avoid him. He is too disputable for my company. I think of as many matters as he, but I give heaven thanks and make no boast of them. Come, warble, come.
Who doth ambition shun, and loves to live in the sun, seeking the food he eats, and pleased with what he gets. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy, but winter and rough weather.
I'll give you a verse to this note that I made yesterday in despite of my invention.
And I'll sing it.
Thus it goes. If it do come to pass that any man turn arse, leaving his wealth and ease, a stubborn will to please, Duke Dame, Duke Dame, Duke Dame, here shall he see gross fools as he, and if he will come to me.
What's that, Duke Dame?
'Tis a Greek invocation to call fools into a circle. I'll go sleep if I can. If I cannot, I'll rail against all the firstborn of Egypt.
And I'll go seek the Duke. His banquet is prepared.
And they go off in different directions. We meet Orlando and Adam again, the snow slowly falling on them.
Oh, dear master, I can go no further. Oh, I die for food. Here lie I down and measure out my grave. Farewell, kind master.
Why, how now, Adam? No greater heart in thee. Live a little, comfort a little, cheer thyself a little. If this uncouth forest yield anything but savage, I will either be food for it or bring it for thee for food. Thy conceit is nearer death than thy powers. For my sake be comfortable. Hold death a while at the arm's end. I will be with thee presently, and if I bring thee not something to eat, I will give thee leave to die. But if thou diest before I come, thou art a mocker of my labour. Well said. Thou lookest cheerly, and I'll be with thee quickly. Yet thou liest in bleak air. Come, I will bear thee to some shelter, and thou shalt not die for lack of dinner if there be any living thing in this desert. Cheerly, good Adam.
And off they go. In another part of the forest, a table is set out. Duke Senior, Amiens, and the lords all enter, a little like outlaws.
I think he be transformed into a beast, for I can nowhere find him like a man.
My lord, he is but even now gone hence. Here was he merry, hearing of a song.
If he, compact of jars, grow musical, we shall have shortly discord in the spheres. Go, seek him. Tell him I would speak with him.
Jaques enters.
He saves my labour by his own approach.
Why, how now, monsieur? What a life is this, that your poor friends must woo your company? What? You look merrily.
A fool, a fool. I met a fool in the forest, a motley fool. Ah, miserable world. As I do live by food, I met a fool who laid him down and basked him in the sun and railed on Lady Fortune in good terms, in good set terms, and yet a motley fool. Good morrow, fool, quoth I. No, sir, quoth he, call me not fool till heaven hath sent me fortune. And then he drew a dial from his poke, and looking on it with lackluster eyes, says very wisely, it is 10 o'clock. Thus we may see, quoth he, how the world wags. 'Tis but an hour ago since it was 9, and after but 1 hour more 'twill be 11. And so from hour to hour we ripe and ripe, and then from hour to hour we rot and rot, and thereby hangs a tale. When I did hear the motley fool thus moral on the time, my lungs began to crow like chanticleer, that fool should be so deep contemplative, and I did laugh sans intermission an hour by his dial. Oh, noble fool! Oh, worthy fool! Motley is the only colour.
What fool is this?
A worthy fool, one that hath been a courtier, and says, if ladies be but young and fair, they have the gift to know it. And in his brain, which is as dry as the remainder biscuit after a voyage, he hath strange places crammed with observation, which he vents in mangled forms. Oh, that I were a fool! I am ambitious for a motley coat.
Thou shalt have one.
It is my only suit, provided that you weed your better judgments of all opinion that grows rank in them that I am wise. I must have liberty withal, as large a charter as the wind, to blow on whom I please, for so fools have, and they that are most galled with my folly, they most must laugh. And why, sir, must they so? The why is plain as way to parish church. He that a fool doth very wisely hit, doth very foolishly, although he's smart, not to seem senseless of the barb. If not, the wise man's folly is anatomized even by the squandering glances of the fool. Oh, invest me in my motley. Give me leave to speak my mind, and I will through and through cleanse the foul body of the infected world if they will patiently receive my medicine.
Oh, fie on thee! I can tell what thou wouldst do.
What for a counter would I do but good?
Most mischievous, foul sin in chiding sin. For thou thyself hast been a libertine, as sensual as the brutish sting itself, and all the embossed sores and headed evils that thou, with license of free foot, hath caught, wouldst thou disgorge into the general world?
Why, who cries out on pride that can therein tax any private party? Doth it not flow as hugely as the sea? What woman in the city do I name, when that I say the city woman bears the cost of princes on unworthy shoulders? Who can come in and say that I mean her, when such a one as she, such is her neighbor? There then, how then? What then? Let me see wherein my tongue hath wronged him. If it do him right, then he hath wronged himself. If he be free, why then my taxing like a wild goose flies unclaimed of any man. Oh, but who comes here?
Orlando arrives with his sword drawn.
Forbear and eat no more.
Why, I have ate none yet.
Nor shalt not till necessity be served.
Of what kind should this cock come from?
Art thou thus emboldened, man, by thy distress, or else a rude despiser of good manners, that in civility thou seemst so empty?
You touched my vein at first. The thorny point of bare distress hath taken me from the show of smooth civility. Yet I am inland bred and know some nurture. But forbear, I say. He dies that touches any of this fruit till I and my affairs are answered.
And you will not be answered with reason. I must die.
What would you have? Your gentleness shall force more than your force move us to gentleness.
I almost die for food, and let me have it.
Sit down and feed, and welcome to our table.
Speak you so gently? Pardon me, I pray you. I thought that all things had been savage here, and therefore I put on a countenance, a stern commandment. But whate'er you are, that in this desert inaccessible under the shade of melancholy boughs, lose and neglect the creeping hours of time. If ever you have looked on better days, if ever been where bells have knolled to church, if ever sat at any good man's feast, if ever from your eyelids wiped a tear, and know what 'tis to pity and be pitied, let gentleness my strong enforcement be, in which the hope I blush and hide my sword.
True it is that we have seen better days, and have with holy bell been knolled to church, and sat at good men's feasts, and wiped our eyes of drops of sacred pity hath engendered. And therefore sit you down in gentleness, and take upon command what help we have, that to your wanting may be ministered.
Then, but forbear your food a little whilst like Cadeau I go and find my fawn and give it food. There is an old man, who after me hath many a weary step limped in pure love, till he be first sufficed. Oppressed with two weak evils, age and hunger, I will not touch a bit.
Go, find him out, and we will nothing waste till you return.
I thank thee, and be blessed for your good comfort.
Orlando goes off to rescue Adam.
Thou seest, we are not all alone unhappy. This wide and universal theatre presents more woeful pageants than the scene wherein we play in.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his act being 7 ages. At first the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like a furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange odes, bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again to childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. Son's teeth, son's eyes, son's taste, son's everything.
At this point, Orlando re-enters carrying Adam.
Welcome. Set down your venerable burden and let him feed.
I thank you most for him.
So had you need. I scarce can speak to thank you for myself.
Welcome. Fall to. I will not trouble you as yet to question you about your fortunes. Give us some music, and good cousin, sing.
Blow, blow, thou winter wind, thou art not so unkind as man's ingratitude. Thy tooth is not so keen, because thou art not seen, although thy breath be rude. Hi-ho, sing hi-ho, unto the green holly. Most friendship is fining, most loving me fully. Then hi-ho the holly, this life is most jolly.
If you were the good Sir Roland's son, as you have whispered faithfully you were, and as mine eye doth his effigies witness, most truly limed and living in your face, be truly welcome thither. I am the Duke that loved your father, the residue of your fortune. Go to my cave and tell me. Good old man, thou art right welcome as thy master is. Support him by the arm. Give me your hand, and let me all your fortunes understand.
And we now go back to Duke Frederick's palace, where he is talking with Oliver.
Not seen him since. Sir, that cannot be. But were I not the better part made mercy, I should not seek an absent argument of my revenge, thou present. But look to it. Find out thy brother, wheresoe'er he is, seek him with candle, bring him dead or alive within this 12 months, or turn thou no more to seek a living in our territory. Thy lands and all things that thou call'st thine, worth seizure, do we seize into our hands, till thou canst quit thee by thy brother's mouth of what we think against thee.
Oh, that your highness knew my heart in this. I never loved my brother in my life.
Ah, more villain thou. Well, push him out of doors, and let my officers of such a nature make an extent upon his house and lands. Do this expediently, and turn him going. Ah, and while that search is afoot, I think we'd better take an interval.
So, interval time. Go and top up your glasses or whatever. And Tim, you and I are going to have a chat with you, asking any questions.
Thank you, Nick. The first question is, this actually is one of my favorite plays. And what do you think are the main themes about this play that's running through it?
Learning about love. It's one of the great, if you like, educational plays about falling in love and finding the truth of what it means to be in love. I would say that, because we're going to have what, 4, 6 people, 8 people actually in love. Some of them think they're in love, infatuation. Orlando, who has fallen in love with Rosalind, woos Orlando in the disguise as Ganymede to learn about love. And he has put Rosalind on a pedestal, like many of Shakespeare's heroes do. They put the girl that they love on a pedestal. And the only problem with putting someone on a pedestal is when they fall off, you tend to get hit on the head. So you actually have to learn the humanity and learn your own humanity. So I would say that was the major theme of it. It's about brothers, brotherly hate and brotherly love and brotherly jealousy. It's about court and country. Touchstone has agreed to go along with the girls into the Forest of Arden, but he is fed up. He is used to life in the court. And when he meets with old Corin, the shepherd, the two of them have this wonderful banter between them. So where the countryman, the shepherd, thinks life in court is not all it's cracked up to be, and Touchstone thinks the other way around. Yeah, I would say that was about. Also, there's whole elements of this play which have that of a kind of almost a fairy tale element of it. You've got the very fact of the wrestling match at the beginning. Orlando, the hero, setting off on his journey by wrestling the giant, and he becomes the giant killer. But having done that, that causes him the next adventure on his journey. And if you say that plays very often are about the journey of the hero or the journey of the heroine, this play really echoes it in a fascinating way.
Thank you. And of course, Shakespeare creates many interesting characters. I was wondering, as I was watching Jakers doing the classic speech from this play about the ages of man, do you think that Shakespeare incorporated this character to provide a bit of background philosophy almost?
I think it's a strange, you call it philosophy. I mean, basically, Jaques is one of those cynical Shakespeare characters where the whole life is fairly pointless. So either you're a puking child, a baby, you're a whining schoolboy, you're a sentimental lover, you're a stupid soldier, you know, going to certain death in the cannon's mouth, the pompous justice, the old man with his shrunk shank. And the final image he has of mankind is ending up as someone sans teeth, sans eyes, sans everything. But the crucial thing is, just as he's reduced man to this gibbering, ancient nothing, and saying that's how life is going to end, at that very moment, Orlando comes in with a very old man who is apparently close to death, apparently sans eyes, sans teeth, sans everything. But we know his humanity, and he's not to be sneered at or laughed at, but he's basically got to be admired. So, as always, Shakespeare's characters is a bit like, you know, Polonius in Hamlet, you know, says, and people keep quoting, to thy own self be true. But if you're Polonius and you are true to yourself, you're the most appalling father. You almost use your daughter as bait. So you have to be a bit careful. People say, that's what Shakespeare meant. he is much more subtle than that.
I mean, Shakespeare created many interesting characters, and I wondered if in this play, who is your favourite, perhaps?
Oh, Rosalind. I mean, Rosalind is my favourite heroine of all time, and her journey, and the way that, you know, like many Shakespeare characters, she assumes a disguise. She pretends to be a boy, a man. And in that disguise, she educates her would-be lover, Orlando. But when you wear a disguise, it's a really interesting thing, is that you can feel much braver because you're wearing a mask, okay? And not because a mask is going to save you from COVID-19. It's a mask that actually allows you to keep your own self, your shy self down, and actually play whatever part you like. And it's very much, if you like, a symbol for all actors. I mean, actors wear masks all the time. And very often I found that actors are quite shy people underneath. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they've become actors. So they can put that mask on and become all these wonderful characters.
Yes, I remember an actor saying once that it was a film actor, that he spent so many years playing all these different people that he actually wasn't playing himself very much. Moving on a little bit, obviously this is quite a different exercise as far as directing plays online, but what are you hoping when you are directing a play, whether at Highdown Gardens, where we normally are at this time of year, or whether with what you're doing at the moment, what is it you're hoping that the audience will take away from the performance?
The story, basically the story, and enjoying the stories on different levels. I mean, someone who really knows their Shakespeare, I hope, will actually appreciate the way that the text is being used and worked on and created by the actors. The 6-year-old child lying at the front and going, "Oh, Mummy, did that man Shakespeare write any more plays like that?" will come up with a great story, and Shakespeare does use wonderful stories and wonderful characters. I remember we were doing Taming of the Shrew once, and I heard a little sort of 7-year-old child said, "Oh yes, that's just like my mum," talking about Catherine, which I thought fascinating, really. Yeah, it's the fact of telling the story and using the language. There is a magic in Shakespeare's language, as I think I've said before, and you actually have to know how to explore that language. He builds in the most wonderful rules and signs and things which our actors are trained to actually discover and bring forward, and which actually communicates the sense of the lines really clearly.
It's interesting you say that, because I was wondering if you have any advice to people that are perhaps reading Shakespeare on the page, not necessarily in performance, but reading it for pleasure. I wonder if you have any advice on how to approach that, because obviously on the page, the language is quite unfamiliar to us, although you can generally gain the sense. But do you have any suggestions in that respect? If you're reading the book of the play, how to actually approach that to get the most out of reading it that way?
Well, my old English master was, just read it, really. And whatever you do, he would say, don't go and watch it at the Royal Shakespeare Company. But he was a bit of a purist as far as I'm concerned. I think it's quite an idea that to actually get a really good version of it, maybe a film version of it, and just follow it through with the text there, and you'll see things come out of it. Make sure you try and read it in a big, nice, clear text. If you actually get most complete works and you see a whole page in about 8-point type, it can be a bit off-putting. And read it and understand it. I remember Richard Burton saying that when he came to do Hamlet on the London stage, suddenly he looked down as he was about to go into the to be or not to be speech, and there was Sir Winston Churchill reading the script in the front row. And nothing can quite put an actor off than actually knowing a member of the audience is actually following it line by line. You're almost bound to fall over the lines everywhere. And in fact, actually, just to finish that little story, Churchill went round to Burton's dressing room in the interval and knocked on the door and said, "May I come in, my Lord Hamlet, and use your loo?" But I think he said loo, he might have said lavatory, but yeah, so the text and see the way that Shakespeare is using the text, because I say to all our actors, look and see where the comedy is, where the wit is, and something like, you know, I was just, and you never stop discovering it. I mean, I was following the text just now, and Duke Senior, Richard, came to the line saying, "As mine eye doth his effigies witness, most truly limed and living in your face." Why limed? Well, lime is a way that you catch a bird. So he's saying that your face has caught the image of your father, which is why I recognize you. So yeah, it's you never ever get to the bottom of it. And I think that's what makes it so fresh and so exciting. Each time it's like going on a journey to a desert island, and you've been given a map and you think you know what you're going to find there. And each time you find new things and different things.
Because I mentioned earlier, of course, normally we'd be up at Highdown Gardens, because it's an open air production across 2 weeks. Perhaps you could just explain a bit to those people that aren't familiar with Rainbow Shakespeare at Highdown, what that's like, and what the audience perhaps gets out of that whole experience.
Well, the idea came up when I was going for a walk along the beach with my partner, now my wife, Alex, and we wanted to do something for family audiences. And I've been very lucky because I've been brought up in South London, and I would go up by bus and see wonderful productions at the Old Vic, just straightforward, clear telling the Shakespeare stories. I remember seeing Judi Dench there as Viola, and dear Judy, who's now our very loyal patron. So when we came to move into Highdown Gardens, we wanted to create a Shakespeare performance that could be enjoyed by a 6-year-old or a 90-year-old. We wanted to make the audience feel part of the action. And one of the things we developed very close, right at the beginning, was the actors going out in character to meet the audience, which actually made the audience, it wasn't a them and us experience, like very often it is. If you go to the theatre, you move into your seat and the actors perform at you. This was a way of you actually could see the characters were flesh and blood characters. And I quote our Claudius when we did Hamlet, going round with his wife Gertrude and welcoming the audience to Elsinore. We've actually known, I mean, Touchstone tonight has enormous and outrageous fun with the members of the audience. So they actually almost know the type of character he is, and then they meet him. And so I think it's that I mean, audiences are continually coming up to me and saying, you know, I never realized that Shakespeare was A, understandable, or B, such fun. It's very nice when they come up and say, you know, I've seen every production at Stratford for the last 10 years, and Highdown Shakespeare knocks them all into a cocked hat, which is really nice to hear, especially when you haven't been looking for a compliment. But I think it's because our actors relate to the audience, and also at Highdown they can see the eyeballs of the characters. So you, as a member of the audience, are aware that that actor can see you. And if you kind of suddenly have a burst out laughter as a sort of single person, you will tend to find that rainbow actors will tend to look at you and may even make a comment, which actually makes you realize that you're part of live theatre, and that the act and what you're seeing is unique. I mean, and again, it's a story I've told so often, but Paul, who has rejoined us after many years, Paul Shelley, who has played the wrestler, and we're going to see again in the second half, was playing Mercutio in our first Romeo and Juliet. And suddenly we had this police helicopter come and hover over the stage. And I was in the audience, and you could feel the whole audience go, oh, are the actors going to be thrown? Because it was, you know, it was quite noisy, and they had a sort of spotlight coming down on us. And Paul just looked up, quick as a flash, and said, bloody Capulets. And the audience just relaxed and roared with laughter. And I think throughout it, and accidents do happen in live theatre. I mean, Ross, who was a wonderful Hamlet, but one particularly wet night at Hamlet, came on and his wicked uncle was praying at the foot of a ramp, and Ross drew his sword and stopped. But unfortunately he didn't, because his boot slid with him down the ramp until he crashed into the king, Claudius, who had to pretend he hadn't noticed anything. But that's what the audience will remember, that because that was a one-off incident. And the very fact that the actors carried on, well, they're relieved, and one of the things that one dreads as a member of an audience is an actor drying, forgetting their lines. And that will take very often 5 minutes, 10 minutes for the audience to get their own back.
We're almost out of time, actually, and I just wanted to ask you with Rainbow, of course, how it's supported and funded.
Well, High Down, everything that is there is earned by the actors. We run on a profit share basis. We wanted to do Shakespeare with at least 13 people in the cast. I mean, my experience with Shakespeare was that almost all plays you can reduce down to 13 or round about that number. But really, actors come down here, and at the end of the, when we have the box office taken in, we divide it up equally among all the people who've taken part. So if we have a wet summer, then we're not going to do too well. But sometimes also we found that doing slightly more obscure plays, like when we did Love's Labour's Lost, and I was really worried, or Two Gentlemen of Verona, that people would say, oh, I don't know that play very well, I'm worried about coming to that. We actually, the box office was better than for one of the more well-known plays. So you can never know, but that's why that we are got this GoFundMe project going, and you can see it alongside the YouTube screening of the plays, and you'll see the address there, because we actually do need to buy some lights for next year rather than having a big expense each year of hiring them. And the council now charges to go up to High Down, and that again is a worry, because but we won't change their minds, I know. So yeah, it's as they say at ASDA, isn't it? Every little counts, or whatever.
Thank you very much, Nick. We're now out of time for the discussion. So if we could move on, and you could lead us into the second act. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. We now go to Act 2 of, we go to Act 2 of, we've got Touchstone who's coming up a bit soon. Touchstone and your giraffe, can you go away, please? Right. Act 2 of As You Like It. It's now spring in the forest, and Orlando comes on with a whole lot of poems that he's sticking on every tree.
Hang there my verse in witness of my love. And thou, thrice crowned queen of the night, survey with thy chaste eye from thy pale sphere above thy huntress name that my full life doth sway. O Rosalind, these trees shall be my books, and in their barks my thoughts I'll character, that every eye which in this forest looks shall see thy virtue witnessed everywhere. Run, run, Orlando, carve on every tree the fair, the chaste, and unexpressive she.
And off he goes with his poems, and old Corin the shepherd and Touchstone enter.
And how like you this shepherd's life, Master Touchstone?
Truly, shepherd, in respect of itself, it is a good life. But in respect that it is a shepherd's life, it is naught. In respect that it is solitary, I like it very well. But in respect it is in the fields, it pleases me well too. But in respect it is not the court, it is tedious. As it is a spare life, look you, it is my humour, well, but as there is no more plenty in it, it goes much against my stomach. Hast any philosophy in thee, shepherd?
No more, but that I know the more one sickens, the worse at ease he is, and that he that wants money, means, and content is without 3 good friends. That the property of rain is too wet, and fire to burn, that good pasture makes fat sheep, and that a great cause of the night is lack of sun. That he that hath learnt no wit by nature nor art may complain of lack of good breeding, or comes of a very dull kindred.
Such a one is a natural philosopher. Wast ever in court, shepherd?
No, truly.
Then thou art damned.
Nay, I hope.
Oh, truly, thou art damned like an ill-roasted egg, all on one side.
For not being at court? Your reason?
Why, if thou wast never at court, thou never sawest good manners. If thou never sawest good manners, then thy manners must be wicked, and wickedness is sin, and sin is damnation. Thou art in a parlous state, shepherd.
Not a whit, Touchstone. Those that are good manners at the court are as ridiculous in the country as the behaviour of the country is most mockable at the court. You told me you salute not at court, but you kiss your hands. That courtesy would be uncleanly if courtiers were shepherds.
Instance, briefly, come, instance.
Why, we are still handling our ewes, and their fells, you know, are greasy.
Why, do not your courtiers' hands sweat? And is not the grease of a mutton as wholesome as the sweat of a man? Shallow, shallow, a better instance, I say, come.
Besides, our hands are hard.
Oh, your lips will feel them. The sooner shallow again, a more sounder instance come.
And they are often tarred over with the surgery of our sheep. And would you have us kiss tar? The courtier's hands are perfumed with civet.
Most shallow man, that worm's meat in respect of a good piece of flesh indeed. Learn of the wise and repent. Civet is of a baser birth than tar, the very uncleanly flux of a cat. Mend the instant, shepherd.
Ah, you have too courtly a wit for me. I'll rest.
Will thou rest, damned? Oh, God help thee, shallow man. God make incision in thee, thou art raw.
Sir, I am a true labourer. I earn what I eat. I get that I wear. Owe no man hate, envy no man's happiness, glad of other men's good, content in my harm, and the greatest of my pride is to see my ewes graze and my lambs suck.
Ah, that is another simple sin in thee, to bring the ewes and the rams together, to offer to get your living by the copulation of cattle, to be bought to a bellwether, and to betray a she lamb of a 12-month to a crooked pated old cuckoldy ram out of all reasonable match? Oh, if thou beest not damned for this, the devil himself will have no shepherds. I cannot see how they should escape self.
Ah, here comes young Master Ganymede, my new mistress's brother.
Rosalind enters reading a paper.
From the east to the western end, no jewel is like Rosalind. Her worth being mounted on the wind, through all the world bears Rosalind. All the pictures fair lined are but black to Rosalind. Let no fair be kept in mind but the fair of Rosalind.
I'll rhyme you so 8 years to get the dinners and suppers, sleeping hours accepted. It is the right but a woman's rank to market.
Out, fool.
Oh, for a taste. If a heart do lack a hind, let him seek out Rosalind. If the cat will after kind, so be sure will Rosalind. Winter garments must be lined, so must slender Rosalind. They that reap must sheaf and bind, then to cart with Rosalind. Sweetest nut hath sourest rind, such a nut is Rosalind. He that sweetest rose will find, must find love's prick and Rosalind. Oh, this is the very false gallop of verses. Why do you infect yourself with them?
Peace, you dull fool. I found them on a tree.
Truly, the tree yields bad fruit.
I'll graff it with you, and then I shall graff it with a medlar. Then it will be the earliest fruit in the country. For you'll be rotten ere you be half ripe, and that's the true virtue of a medlar.
Oh, you have said, but whether wisely or no, let the forest judge.
Celia enters, reading.
Peace. Here comes my sister, reading. Stand aside.
Why should this a desert be? For it is unpeopled. No, tongues I'll hang on every tree that shall civil saying show. Some, how brief the life of man runs his erring pilgrimage, that the stretching of a span buckles in the sum of his age. How that heaven nature charged that one body should be filled with all graces wild and large. Nature presently distilled Helen's cheek, but not her heart, Cleopatra's majesty, Atalanta's better part, sad Lucretia's modesty. Thus Rosalind of many parts by heavenly synod was devised, of many faces, eyes, and hearts, to have the touches dearest prized. Heaven would that she these gifts should have, and I to live and die her slave. Come, back, Sirrahs. Shepherds, go off a little. Go with him, Sirrah.
Come, shepherd, let's make an honourable retreat, though not with bag and baggage, yet with scrip and scrippage.
Florin and Touchstone exit together.
Didst thou hear these verses?
Oh, yes, I heard them all.
But didst thou hear without wondering how thy name should be hanged and carved upon these trees?
I was 7 of the 9 days out of the wonder before you came. For look here what I found on a palm tree.
Trow you know who have done this?
Is it a man?
And a chain that you once wore about his neck. Change your colour?
I prithee, who?
Oh, Lord, it is a hard matter for friends to meet, but mountains may be removed with earthquakes and so encounter.
Nay, but who is it?
Is it possible?
Nay, I prithee now with most petitionary vehemence tell me who it is.
Oh, wonderful, and most wonderful, and yet again wonderful, and after that, out of all hoping.
Good my complexion! Dost thou think, though I am comparison like a man, I have a doublet and hose in my disposition? I prithee, tell me who it is quickly, and speak apace. I would thou couldst stammer, that thou mightst pour this concealed man out of thy mouth as wine comes out of a narrow-mouthed bottle, either too much at once or none at all. I prithee, take the cork out of thy mouth, that I may drink thy tidings.
So you may put a man in your belly.
Is he of God's making? What manner of man? Is his head worth a hat, or his chin worth a beard?
Nay, he hath but a little beard.
Why, God will send more, if the man be thankful. Let me stay the growth of his beard, if thou delay me not the knowledge of his chin.
It is young Orlando, that tripped up the wrestler's heels and your heart in both an instant.
Nay, but the devil take mocking. Speak, sad brow and true maid.
If faith, cuz 'tis he.
Orlando.
Orlando.
Alas the day! What shall I do with my doublet and hose? What did he say when thou sawest him? What said he? How looked he? Wherein went he? What makes him here? Did he ask for me? Where remains he? How parted he with thee? And when shalt thou see him again? Answer me in one word.
You must borrow me a gargantuous mouth first. 'Tis a word too great for any mouth of this age's size. To say aye and no to these particulars is more than to answer in a catechism.
Oh, but doth he know I am in this forest and in man's apparel? Looks he as freshly as he did on the day he wrestled?
It is as easy to account autonomies as to resolve the propositions of a lover. But take a taste of my finding him, and relish it with good observance. I found him under a tree, like a dropped acorn.
Oh, it may well be called Jove's tree when it drops forth such fruit.
Give me audience, good madam.
Proceed.
There lay he, stretched along like a wounded knight.
Oh, though it be pity to see such a sight, it well becomes the ground.
Cry hollow to thy tongue, I prithee. He was furnished like a hunter, and
oh, ominous! He comes to kill my heart.
I would sing my song without a burden. Thou bringest me out of tune.
Do you not know I am a woman? When I think I must speak. Sweet, say on.
You bring me out. Soft, comes he not here?
Orlando enters then with Jaques.
'Tis he. Slink by and note him.
I thank you for your company, but good faith I had as lief have been myself alone.
And so had I, but yet for fashion's sake, I thank you too for your society.
God be with you. Let's meet as little as we can.
I do desire we may be better strangers.
I pray you, mar no more trees with writing love songs in their barks.
I pray you, mar no more of my verses with reading them ill-favouredly.
Rosalind is your love's name?
Yes, just.
I do not like her name.
There was no thought of pleasing you when she was christened.
What stature is she of?
Just as high as my heart.
You are full of pretty answers. Will you sit down with me, and we two will rail against our mistress, the world, and all our misery?
I will chide no breather in the world but myself, against whom I know most faults.
The worst fault you have is to be in love.
'Tis a fault I will not change for your best virtue. I am weary of you.
By my troth, I was seeking for a fool when I found you.
He is drowned in the brook. Look but in, and you shall see him.
There I shall see mine own figure.
Which I take to be either a fool or a cipher.
I'll tarry no longer with you. Farewell, good Signor Love.
I am glad of your departure. Adieu, good Monsieur Melancholy.
Jaques goes off.
I will speak to him like a saucy lackey, and under that habit play the knave with him. Do you hear, Forester?
Very well. What would you?
I pray you, what is the clock?
You should ask me what time of day. There's no clock in the forest.
Then there is no true lover in the forest. Else sighing every minute and groaning every hour would detect the lazy foot of time as well as the clock.
And why not the swift foot of time? Had not that been as proper?
By no means, sir. Time travels in divers paces with divers persons. I'll tell you who time ambles withal, who time trots withal, who time gallops withal, and who he stands still withal.
I prithee, who doth he trot withal?
Marry, he trots hard with a young maid between the contract of her marriage and the day it is solemnized. if the interim be but a se'ennight, time's pace is so hard that it seemed the length of a 7 year.
Who ambles with time withal?
With a priest that lacks Latin, and a rich man that hath not the gout. For the one sleeps easily because he cannot study, and the other lives merrily because he feels no pain. These time ambles withal.
Who doth he gallop withal?
With a fief to the gallows. For though he go as softly a foot as can fall, he thinks himself too soon there.
Who stays it still withal?
With lawyers in the vacation, for they sleep between term, and then they perceive not how time moves.
Where dwell you, pretty youth?
With this shepherdess, my sister, here in the skirts of the forest like fringe upon a petticoat.
Are you native of this place?
As the coney that you see dwell here, where she is kindled.
Your accent is something finer than you could purchase in so removed a dwelling.
I have been told so of many, but indeed an old religious uncle of mine taught me to speak, who was in his youth an inland man, one that knew courtship too well, and there he fell in love. I have heard him read many lectures against it, and I thank God I am not a woman, to be touched with so many giddy offences as he hath generally taxed their whole sex withal.
Can you remember any of the principal evils that he laid to the charge of women?
There were none principal. They were all like one another as halfpence are, every one fault seeming monstrous till this fellow fault came to match it.
I prithee recount some of them.
No, I will not cast away my physic, but on those that are sick. There is a man haunts the forest that abuses our young plants with carving Rosalind on their barks, hangs odes upon hawthorns and elegies on brambles, all forsooth, deifying the name of Rosalind. If I could meet that fancy monger, I would give him some good counsel, for he seems to have the quotidian of love upon him.
I am he that is so love-shaked. I pray you tell me your remedy.
There is none of my uncle's marks upon you. He taught me how to know a man in love, in which cage of rushes I am sure you are not prisoner.
What were his marks?
A lean cheek, which you have not. A blue eye and sunken, which you have not. An unquestionable spirit, which you have not. A beard neglected, which you have not. Then your hose should be ungartered, your bonnet unbanded, your sleeve unbuttoned.
Fair youth.
Untied. Everything about you demonstrating a tireless desolation. But you are no such man. You are rather point device in your accoutrements, as loving yourself than seeming the lover of any other.
Fair youth, I would I could make thee believe I love.
Me believe it? You may as soon make her that you love believe it, which I warrant she is apter to do than to confess she does. But in good sooth, are you he that hangs the verses on the trees, wherein Rosalind is so admired?
I swear to thee, youth, by the white hand of Rosalind, I am that he, that unfortunate he.
But are you so much in love as your rhymes speak?
Neither rhyme nor reason can express how much.
Love is merely a madness, and I tell you deserves as well a dark house and a whip as madmen do. And the reason why they are not so punished and cured is the lunacy is so ordinary that the whippers are in love too. Yet I profess curing it by counsel.
Did you ever cure any so?
Yes, one, and in this manner. He was to imagine me his love, his mistress, and I set him every day to woo me. At which time would I, being but a moonish youth, grieve, be effeminate, changeable, longing and liking, proud, fantastical, apish, shallow, inconstant, full of tears, full of smiles, for every passion something, and for no passion truly anything, as boys and women are for the most part cattle of this colour, would now like him, now loathe him, then entertain him, then forswear him, now weep for him, then spit at him. that I drave my suitor from his mad humour of love to a living humour of madness, which was to forswear the full stream of the world and live in a nook merely monastic. And thus I cured him, and this way will I take upon you, to wash your liver as clean, as sound as sheep's heart, that there shall not be one spot of love in it.
I would not be cured, youth.
I would cure you, if you would but call me Rosalind, and come every day to my cot and woo me.
Now, by the faith of my love, I will. Tell me where it is.
Go with me to it, and I'll show it you. And by the way, you shall tell me where in the forest you live. Will you go?
With all my heart, good youth.
Nay, you must call me Rosalind. Come, sister, will you go?
And off they go together. And now we meet Touchstone, who is attempting to woo Audrey, a countrywoman. Jaques follows behind.
Come apace, good Audrey, I will fetch up thy goats, Audrey. And how, Audrey, am I the man yet? Doth my simple feature content you?
Your features? Lord warrant us, what features?
I am here with thee and thy goats, as the most capricious poet, honest Ovid, was amongst the Goths.
Oh, knowledge ill inhabited, worse than Jove in a thatched house.
When a man's verses cannot be understood, nor a man's good wit seconded with the forward child understanding, it strikes a man more dead than a great reckoning in a little room. Truly, I would the gods had made thee poetical.
I do not know what poetical is. Is it honest in deed and word? Is it a true thing?
No, truly, for the truest poetry is the most feigning, and lovers are given to poetry, and what they swear in poetry may be said as lovers they do feign.
Do you wish then that the gods had made me poetical?
I do truly, for thou swearest to me thou art honest. Now, if thou were a poet, I might have some hopes thou did feign.
Would you not have me honest?
No, truly, unless thou wert hard favoured, for honesty coupled to beauty is to have honey as sauce to sugar.
A material fool.
Well, I am not fair, and therefore I pray the gods make me honest.
Truly, and to cast away honesty upon a foul slut were to put good meat into an unclean dish.
I am not a slut, though I thank the gods I am foul.
Well, praise be the gods for thy foulness. Sluttishness may come hereafter. But be as it may be, I will marry thee. And to that end, I've been with Sir Oliver Martext, the vicar of the next village, who hath promised to meet me in this place of the forest and to couple us.
I would fain see this meeting.
Well, the gods give us joy.
Amen. A man may, if he were of a fearful heart, stagger in this attempt, for here we have no temple but the wood, no congregation but horn beasts. But what though? Courage! Oh, here comes Sir Oliver. Sir Oliver Martext, you are well met. Will you dispatch us here under this tree, or shall we go with you to your chapel?
Well, is there none here to give the woman?
I will not take her on gift of any man.
Truly, she must be given, or the marriage is not lawful.
Proceed, I'll give her.
Oh, good Eden, good master, what you called, how do you, sir? You are very well met. God illed you for your last company. I am very glad to see you. Even a toy in hand, sir. Nay, pray be covered.
Will you be married, Motley?
As the ox hath his bow, sir, the horse hath his curb, and the falcon her bells, so man hath his desires, and as pigeons bill, so wedlock would be nibbling.
And will you, being a man of your breeding, be married under a bush like a beggar? Get you to church and have a good priest that can tell you what marriage is. This fellow will but join you together as they join wainscot. Then one of you will prove a shrunk shank and, like green timber, warp.
I am not in the mind that I were better to be married of him than of another, for he is not like to marry me well. And not being well married, it may be a good excuse for me hereafter to leave my wife.
Go thou with me and let me counsel thee.
Come, sweet Audrey, we must be married or we must live in bawdry. Farewell, good Master Oliver, not, oh, sweet Oliver, oh, breathe, Oliver, leave me not behind thee, but wind away, be gone, I say, I will not to wedding with thee.
Exit Jaques, Touchstone, and Audrey.
Why, 'tis no matter. Never a fantastical knave of them all should flout me out of my calling.
And Sir Oliver probably falls into a ditch. We now go to another part of the forest where Rosalind is confessing to Celia.
Never talk to me, I will weep.
Do, I prithee, and yet have the grace to consider that tears do not become a man.
Do I not have cause to weep?
As good cause as one would desire, therefore weep.
His hair is of the very dissembling colour.
Something browner than Judas's, Mary. His kisses are Judas's own children.
In faith, his hair is of a good colour.
An excellent colour. Your chestnut was ever the only colour.
And his kissing is as full of sanctity as the touch of holy bread.
A nun of winter's sisterhood kisses not more religiously. The very ice of chastity is in them.
But why did he swear he would come this morning, and comes not?
Nay, certainly, there is no truth in him.
Do you think so?
Yes, I think he is not a pick-purse nor a horse-stealer, but for his verity of love, I do think him as concave as a covered goblet or a worm-eaten nut.
Not true in love?
Yes, when he is in, but I think he is not in.
You have heard him swear downright he was.
Was is not is. Besides, the oath of a lover is no stronger than the word of a tapster. They are both the confirmer of false reckonings. He attends here in the forest on the Duke your father.
I met the Duke yesterday, and had much question with him. He asked me of what my parentage was. I told him, as good as he. And so he laughed and let me go. But what talk we of fathers when there is such a man as Orlando?
Oh, that's a brave man. He writes brave verses, speaks brave words, swears brave oaths, and breaks them bravely. Who comes here?
Enter Corin.
Mistress and master, you have oft inquired after the shepherd that complained of love, when you saw him sitting by me on the turf, praising the proud disdainful shepherdess who was his mistress.
Well, then what of him?
Well, if you will see a pageant truly played, between the pale complexion of true love and the red glow of scorn and proud disdain, go hence a little, and I shall conduct you, if you will mark it.
Oh, come, let us remove. The sight of lovers feedeth those in love. Bring us to this sight, and you shall say I'll prove a busy actor in their play.
Off they go. In another part of the forest, Phoebe enters, followed by the would-be lover, Silvius.
Oh, sweet Phoebe, do not scorn me, do not, Phoebe. Say that you love me not, but say not so in bitterness. The common executioner, whose art the accustomed sight of death makes hard, falls not the axe upon the humbled neck, but first begs pardon. Will you sterner be than he that dies and lives by bloody drops?
I would not be thy executioner. I fly thee, for I would not injure thee. Thou tell'st me there is murder in mine eye. 'Tis pretty sure and very probable that eyes, that are the frailest and softest things, who shut their coward gates on atomies, should be called tyrants, butchers, murderers. Now I do frown on thee with all my heart, and if mine eyes can wound, now let them kill thee. Now counterfeit to swoon, why now fall down. Or if thou canst not, oh, for shame, lie not to say mine eyes are murderers. Now show the wound mine eye hath made in thee. Scratch thee but with a pin, and there remains some scar of it. Lean but upon a rush, the cicatrice and capable impression thy palm some moment keeps. But now mine eyes, which I have darted at thee, hurt thee not, nor I am sure there is no force in eyes that can do hurt.
Oh, dear Phoebe, if ever, as that ever may be near, you meet in some fresh cheek the power of fancy, then shall you know the wounds invisible that love's keen arrows make.
But till that time come not thou near me, and when that time comes, afflict me with thy mocks. Pity me not, as till that time I shall not pity thee.
And why, I pray you? Who might be your mother that you insult, exalt, and all at once over the wretched? What though you have no beauty, as by my faith I see no more in you than without candle may go dark to bed? Must you be therefore proud and pitiless? Why? What means this? Why do you look on me? I see no more in you than in the ordinary of nature's sales work. Odds my little life, I think she means to tangle my eyes too. No, faith, proud mistress, hope not after it. 'Tis not your inky brows, your black silk hair, your bugle eyeballs, nor your cheek of cream that can entame my spirits to your worship. You foolish shepherd, wherefore do you follow her, like foggy south, puffing with wind and rain? You are 1,000 times a proper man than she a woman. 'Tis such fools as you that make the world full of ill-favoured children. 'Tis not her glass, but you that flatters her. And out of you she sees herself more proper than any of her lineaments can show you. But mistress, know yourself. Down on your knees and thank heaven, fasting for a good man's love. For I must tell you, friendly in your ear, sell when you can. You are not for all markets. Cry the man mercy, love him, take his offer. Foul is most foul, being foul to a scoffer. So take her to thee, shepherd, fare you well.
Sweet youth, I pray you, chide a year together. I had rather hear you chide than this man woo.
He's fallen in love with your foulness, and she'll fall in love with my anger. If it be so, as fast as she answers thee with frowning looks, I'll sauce her with bitter words. Why look you so upon me?
For no ill will I bear you.
I pray you do not fall in love with me, for I am falser than vows made in wine. Besides, I like you not. If you will know my house, 'tis at the Tuft of Olives here hard by. Will you go, sister? Shepherdess, look on him better, and be not proud. Though all the world could see, none could be so abused in sight as he. Come to our flock.
Rosalind, Celia, and Corin all exit.
Dear shepherd, now I find thy sore of might. Whoever loved that loved not at first sight.
Sweet Phoebe.
Ah, what sayest thou, Silvius?
Sweet Phoebe, pity me.
Why, I am sorry for thee, gentle Silvius.
Wherever sorrow is, relief would be. If you do sorrow at my grief in love, by giving love, your sorrow and my grief would both exterminate.
Thou hast my love. Is not that neighbourly?
I would have you.
Why, that were covetousness. Silvius, the time was that I hated thee, and yet it is not that I bear thee love, but since that thou canst talk of love so well, thy company, which erst was irksome to me, I will endure, and I'll employ thee too. But do not look for further recompense than thine own gladness that thou art employed.
So holy and so perfect is my love, and I in such a poverty of grace, that I shall think it a most plenteous crop to glean the broken ears after the man that the main harvest reaps. Luce, now and then a scattered smile, and that I'll live upon.
Knowest now their youth that spoke to me erewhile?
Not very well, but I have met him oft, and he hath bought the cottage and the bounds that the old Carlet once was master of.
Think not I love him, though I ask for him. 'Tis but a peevish boy, yet he talks well. But what care I for words? Yet words do well when he that speaks them pleases those that hear. It is a pretty youth, not very pretty, but sure he's proud, and yet his pride becomes him. He'll make a proper man. The best thing in him is his complexion, and faster than his tongue did make offence, his eye did heal it up. He is not very tall, yet for his years he's tall. His leg is but so, and yet 'tis well. There was a pretty redness in his lip, a little riper and more lusty red than that mixed in his cheek. 'Twas just the difference between the constant red and mingled damask. There be some women, Silvius, had they marked him in parcels as I did, would have gone near to fall in love with him. But for my part, I love him not, nor hate him not. And yet I have more cause to hate him than to love him. For what had he to do to chide at me? He said mine eyes were black, and my hair black. And now I am remembered scorned at me. I marvel why I answered not again. But that's all one. Omittance is no quittance. I'll write to him a very taunting letter, and thou shalt bear it, wilt thou, Silvius?
Phoebe, with all my heart.
I'll write it straight. The matter's in my head and in my heart. I will be bitter with him and passing short. Go with me, Silvius.
So off they go. Meanwhile, in the forest, Jaques, Rosalind, and Celia enter.
I prithee, pretty youth, let me be better acquainted with thee.
They say you are a melancholy fellow.
I am so. I do love it better than laughing.
Those that are in extremity of either are abominable fellows, and betray themselves to every modern censure worse than drunkards.
Why, 'tis good to be sad and say nothing.
Why then? 'Tis good to be a post.
I have neither the scholar's melancholy, which is emulation, nor the musician's, which is fantastical, nor the courtier's, which is proud, nor the soldier's, which is ambitious, nor the lawyer's, which is politic, nor the lady's, which is nice, nor the lover's, which is all of these. But it is a melancholy of mine own, compounded of many simples extracted from many objects. And indeed the sundry's contemplation of my travels, in which my often rumination wraps me in a most humorous sadness.
A traveller, by my faith, you have great reason to be sad. I fear you have sold your old lands to see other men's. Then to have seen much and have nothing is to have rich eyes and poor hands.
Yes, I have gained my experience.
And your experience makes you sad. I'd rather have a fool to make me merry than experience to make me sad. And to travel for it too.
Good day and happiness, dear Rosaline.
Oh, nay then, God be with you, and you talk in blank verse.
Farewell, Monsieur Traveller. Why, how now, Orlando? Where have you been all this while? You a lover, and you serve me such another trick. Never come in my sight more.
For Rosalind, I come within an hour of my promise.
Break an hour's promise in love. He that will divide a minute into 1,000 parts and break but one part of the 1,000th part of a minute in the affairs of love, it may be said of him that Cupid had clapped him on the shoulder. But I'll warrant him heart whole.
Pardon me, dear Rosalind.
Nay, and you be so tardy, come no more into my sight. I had as lief be wooded on a snail.
Of a snail?
Aye, of a snail. For though he comes slowly, he carries his house on his head. A better jointure, I think, than you make a woman. Besides, he brings his destiny with him.
What's that?
Why, horns, which such as you are fain to be beholding to your wives for, but he comes armed in his fortune and prevents the slander of his wife.
Virtue is no horn maker, and my Rosalind is virtuous.
And I am your Rosalind.
It pleases him to call you so, but he hath a Rosalind of a better leer than you.
Come, woo me, for now I am in a holiday humour and like enough to consent. What would you say to me now, and I were your very, very Rosalind?
I would kiss before I spoke.
Nay, you were better speak first, and when you were gravelled for lack of matter, you might take occasion to kiss.
How if the kiss be denied?
Then she puts you to entreaty, and there begins new matter.
Who could be out being before his beloved mistress?
Marry, that should you, if I were your mistress, or I should think my honesty ranker than my wit.
What of my suit?
Not out of your apparel, and yet out of your suit. Am not I your Rosalind?
I take some joy to say you are, because I would be talking to her.
Well, in her person, I say I will not have you.
Then in mine own person, I die.
No, faith, die by attorney. The poor world is almost 6,000 years old, and in all this time there was not any man died in his own person. Videlicet, in a love cause. Troilus had his brains dashed out with a Grecian club, yet he did what he could to die before. And he is one of the patterns of love. Leander, he would have lived many a fair year, though Hero had turned none, if it had not been for a hot midsummer night. For, good youth, he went but forth to wash him in the Hellespont, and being taken with the cramp, he was drowned, and the foolish coroners of the age found that it was Hero of Sestos. But these are all lies. Men have died from time to time, and worms have eaten them, but not for love.
I would not have my right Rosalind of this mind, for I protest, her frown might kill me.
By this hand it would not kill a fly. But come now, I will be your Rosalind in a more coming-on disposition, and ask me what you will. I will grant it.
Then love me, Rosalind.
Yes, faith will I, Fridays and Saturdays and all.
And wilt thou have me?
Aye, and 20 such.
What sayest thou?
Are you not good?
I hope so.
Why then, can one desire too much of a good thing? Come, sister, you shall be the priest and marry us. Give me your hand, Orlando. What do you say, sister?
Prithee, marry us.
I cannot say the words.
You must begin, will you, Orlando?
Go to, will you, Orlando, have to wife this Rosalind?
I will.
Aye, but what that? But when?
Why now, as fast as she can marry us.
Then you must say, I take thee, Rosalind, for wife.
I take thee, Rosalind, for wife.
I might ask you for your commission, but I do take thee, Orlando, for my husband. There's a girl goes before the priest, and certainly a woman's thought runs before her actions.
So do all thoughts, they are winged.
Now, tell me how long you would have her after you have possessed her.
For ever and a day.
Say a day without the ever. No, no, Orlando. Men are April when they woo, December when they wed, maids are May when they are maids, but the sky changes when they are wives. I will be more jealous of thee than a Barbary cock pigeon over his hen, more clamorous than a parrot against rain, more newfangled than an ape, more giddy in my desires than a monkey. I will weep for nothing, like Diana in the fountain, and I will do that. When you are disposed to be merry, I will laugh like a hyena, and then when thou art inclined to sleep.
But will my Rosalind do so?
By my life, she will do as I do.
Oh, but she is wise.
Or else she would not have the wit to do this. The wiser, the waywarder. Make the doors upon a woman's wit, and it will out at the casement. Shut that, and 'twill out at the keyhole. Stop that, 'twill fly with the smoke out the chimney.
A man that had a wife with such a wit, he might say wit with a whip.
Nay, you might keep that check for it till you met your wife's wit before going to your neighbour's bed.
And what wit could wife have to excuse that?
Marry, to say she came to seek you there. You shall never take her without her answer, unless you take her without her tongue. Oh, that woman cannot make her fault her husband's occasion. Let her never nurse her child herself, for she will breed it like a fool.
For these 2 hours, Rosalind, I will leave thee.
Alas, dear love, I cannot lack thee 2 hours.
I must attend the Duke at dinner. By 2 o'clock, I will be with thee again.
Aye, go by your ways, go your ways. I knew what you would prove. My friends told me as much, and I thought no less. That flattering tongue of yours won me. 'Tis but one cast away, and so come death. 2 o'clock is your hour?
Aye, sweet Rosalind.
By my troth, and in good earnest, and so God mend me, and by all pretty oaths that are not dangerous, if you break one jot of your promise, or come 1 minute behind your hour, I will think you the most pathetical break promise, and the most hollow lover, and the most unworthy of her you call Rosalind, that may be chosen out of the gross band of the unfaithful. Therefore beware my censure, and keep your promise.
With no less religion than if thou wert indeed my Rosalind. So, adieu.
Well, time is the old justice that examines all such offenders, and let time try. Adieu.
Orlando exits.
You have simply misused our sex in your love parade. We must have your doublet and hose plucked over your head and show the world what the bird hath done to her own nest.
Oh, coz, my pretty little coz, that thou didst know how many fathom deep I am in love. But it cannot be sounded. My affection hath an unknown bottom like the Bay of Portugal.
Or rather bottomless, that as fast as you pour affection in, it runs out.
No, that same wicked bastard of Venus that was begot of thought, conceived of spleen and born of madness, that blind rascally boy that abuses everyone's eyes because his own are out, let him be judge how deep I am in love. I'll tell thee, Aliena, I cannot be out of the sight of Orlando. I'll go and find a shadow and sigh till he come.
And I'll sleep.
And they go off. The forest. Enter Jaques, lords and forester, and probably a deer that they have killed.
Which is he that killed the deer?
Sir, it was I.
Let's present him to the Duke like a Roman conqueror, and it would do well to set the deer's horns upon his head for a branch of victory. Have you no song, forester, for this purpose?
Forester. Yes, sir.
Sing it. 'Tis no matter how it be in tune, so it make noise enough.
What shall he have that killed the deer? His leather, skin, and horns to wear. Then sing him horn. Take thou no scorn to wear the horn. It was a crest ere thou wast born. Thy father and thy father's father wore it, and thy father bore it. The horn, the lusty horn, is not a thing to laugh to scorn.
We now go back to Rosalind and Celia.
How say you now? Is it not past 2 o'clock? And here much Orlando.
I warrant you, with pure love and troubled brain, he hath taken his bow and arrows and is gone forth to sleep. Look, who comes here?
Silvius enters with Phoebe's letter.
My errand is to you, fair youth. My gentle Phoebe bid me give you this. I know not the contents, but as I guess by the stern brow and waspish action which she does use as she was writing of it, it bears an angry tenor. Oh, pardon me, I am but as a guiltless messenger.
Patience herself would startle at this letter and play the swaggerer. Bear this, bear all. She says I am not fair, that I lack manners. She calls me proud, and that she could not love me, were man as rare as Phoenix. Odds my will, her love is not the hare that I do hunt, Why writes she so to me? Well, shepherd, well, this is a letter of your own device.
No, I protest I know not the contents. Phoebe did write it.
Come, come, you are a fool and turned into the extremity of love. I say she never did invent this letter, and this is a man's invention and his hand.
Sure, it is hers.
Why, 'tis a boisterous and cruel style, a style for challengers. Will you hear the letter?
Oh, so please you, for I never heard it yet heard too much of Phoebe's cruelty.
She Phoebe's me. Mark how the tyrant writes. Art thou God to shepherd turned, that a maiden's heart hath burned? Can a woman rail thus?
Call you this railing?
Why, thy godhead laid apart, warst thou with a woman's heart? Did you ever hear such railing? Whiles the eye of man did woo me, that could no vengeance do me, meaning me a beast. If the scorn of your bright eyne have power to raise such love in mine, alack in me what strange effect would they work in mild aspect? Whiles you chid me, I did love. How then might your prayers move? He that brings this love to thee little knows this love in me. And by him seal up thy mind, whether that thy youth and kind will the faithful offer take of me and all that I can make, or else by him my love deny, and then I'll study how to die.
Call you this chiding?
Alas, poor shepherd.
Do you pity him? No, he deserves no pity. Wilt thou love such a woman? What, to make thee an instrument and play false strains upon thee? Not to be endured. Well, go your way to her, for I see love hath made thee a tame snake. And say this to her, that if she love me, I charge her to love thee. If she will not, I will never have her, unless thou entreat for her. If you be a true lover, hence and not a word, for here comes more company.
Silvius exits. And then Oliver, Orlando's brother, turns up.
Good morrow, fair ones. Pray you, if you know where in the purlieus of this forest stands a sheepcote fenced round with olive trees?
West of this place, down in the neighbour bottom, the rank of osiers by the murmuring stream, left on your right hand, brings you to the place. But at this hour the house doth keep itself. There's none within.
If that an eye may profit by a tongue, then should I know you by description, such garments and such years. The boy is fair with female favour, and bestows himself like a ripe sister. The woman low and browner than her brother. Are you not the owner of the house I did inquire for?
It is no boast being asked to say we are.
Orlando doth commend him to you both, and to that youth he calls his Rosalind, he sends this bloody napkin. Are you he?
I am. What must we understand by this?
Some of my shame, if you will know of me what man I am, and how and why and where this handkerchief was stained.
I pray you tell it.
When last the young Orlando parted from you, he left a promise to return again. Within an hour, pacing through the forest, chewing the food of sweet and bitter fancy, lo, what befell? He threw his eye aside, and mark what object did present itself? Under an oak, whose boughs were mossed with age, and high-top bald with dry antiquity, a wretched, ragged man, all grown with hair, lay sleeping on his back. About his neck, a green and gilded snake had wreathed itself, who with her head, nimble in threat, approached the opening of his mouth. But suddenly, seeing Orlando, it unlinked itself, and with indented glides did slip away into a bush, under which bush's shade, a lioness with others all drawn dry lay couching, head on ground with cat-like watch, when that the sleeping man should stir. For 'tis the royal disposition of that beast to prey on nothing that doth seem as dead. This seeing, Orlando did approach the man, and found it was his brother, his elder brother.
Oh, I have heard him speak of that same brother, and he did render him the most unnatural that lived among men.
And well he might do so, for well I know he was unnatural.
But to Orlando, did he leave him there, food to the sucked and hungry lioness?
Twice he did turn his back and purposed so, but kindness, nobler ever than revenge, and nature, stronger than his just occasion, made him give battle to the lioness, who quickly fell before him, in which hurtling from a miserable slumber I awaked.
Are you his brother?
Was't you he rescued?
Was you that did so oft contrive to kill him?
'Twas I, but 'tis not I. I do shame to tell you what I was, since mine conversion so sweetly tastes, being the thing I am.
But for the bloody napkin?
By and by, when from the first to last betwixt us two, tears our accountments had most kindly bathed, as how I came into that desert place. In brief, he led me to the gentle Duke, who gave me fresh array and entertainment, committing me unto my brother's love, who led me instantly unto his cave. There stripped himself, and here upon his arm the lioness had torn some flesh away, which all this while had bled, and now he fainted and cried in fainting upon Rosalind. Brief, I recovered him and bound up his wound, and after some small space, being strong at heart, he sent me hither, stranger as I am, to tell this story, that you might excuse his broken promise, and to give you this napkin, dyed in his blood unto the shepherd youth that he in sport doth call his Rosalind.
Oh.
Rosalind swooned.
Why, how now, Ganymede? Sweet Ganymede.
Many will swoon when they do look on blood.
There is more in it. Cousin, Ganymede.
Look, he recovers.
Oh, I would I were at home.
We'll lead you thither. I pray you, will you take him by the arm?
Be of good cheer, youth. You are a man. You lack a man's heart.
I do so, I confess it. Ah, sirrah, anybody would think this was well counterfeited. I pray you, tell your brother how well I counterfeited. Hey-ho.
This was not counterfeit. There is too great testimony in your complexion that it was a passion of earnest.
Counterfeit, I assure you.
Well, then, take a good heart and counterfeit to be a man.
So I do. But in faith, I should have been a woman by right.
Come, you look paler and paler. Pray you, draw homewards. Good sir, go with us?
That will I, for I must bear answer back how you excuse my brother, Rosalind.
I shall devise something. But I pray you, commend my counterfeiting to him. Will you go?
They go together. Touchstone enters now with Audrey.
We shall find a time, Audrey. Patience, gentle Audrey.
Faith, the priest was good enough, for all the old gentleman's saying.
Oh, a most wicked Sir Oliver, Audrey, most vile Martext. But Audrey, there is a youth here in the forest lays claim to thee.
Aye, I know who 'tis. He hath no interest in me in all the world. Here comes the man you mean.
'Tis meat and drink to me to see a clown. By my troth, what we that have good wits have much to answer for. We shall be flouting we cannot hold.
And at that point, William enters.
Good evening, Audrey.
God ye good even, William.
Good evening, you there, sir.
Good even, gentle friend. Cover thy head, nay, prithee, be covered. How old are you, friend?
5 and 20, sir.
A ripe age. Is thy name William?
Yeah, William, sir.
A fair name. Was born in the forest here?
I thank God.
Thank God. A good answer. Art rich?
Faith, sir, no. So.
So is good, very good, very excellent good, and yet it is not. It is but so. Art thou wise?
I, sir, I have a pretty wit.
Ha! Why, thou sayest well. I do not remember a saying, the fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself a fool. The heathen philosopher, when he had a desire to eat a grape, would open his and he put it into his mouth, meaning thereby that grapes were made to eat and lips to open. You do love this maid?
I do, sir.
Give me your hand. Art thou learned?
No, sir.
Then learn this of me. To have is to have, for it is a figure in rhetoric that drink being poured out of a glass into a glass, by filling the one doth empty the other. For all your writers do consent that ipse is he. Now you are not ipse, for I am he.
Which he, sir?
He, sir, that must marry this woman. Therefore you, clown, abandon, which is in the vulgar, leave, the society, which in the boorish is company, of this female, which is in the common, woman, of, or, clown, thou perishest, or to thy better understanding, diest, or to wit, I kill thee, make liberty into bondage, I will deal in poison with thee, or in bastinado, or in steel, I will bandy with thee in action, I will overrun with the policy, I will kill thee 150 ways, therefore tremble, depart.
Do, good William.
God rest you merry, sir.
And William
exits. Our master and mistress seeks you. Come away, away.
Trip, Audrey, I attend.
And off they run. And now Orlando and his brother talk.
Is it possible that on so little acquaintance you should like her? But seeing you should love her, and loving woo, and wooing she should grant, and will you persever to enjoy her?
Neither call the giddiness of it in question, the poverty of her, the small acquaintance, my sudden wooing, nor her sudden consenting, but say with me, I love Aliena. Say with her that she loves me. Consent with both that we may enjoy each other. It shall be to your good. For my father's house and all the revenue that was owed to Roland's will I estate upon you, and here live and die a shepherd.
You have my consent. Let your wedding be tomorrow. Thither will I invite the Duke and all's contented followers. Go you and prepare, for look, here comes Rosalind.
Enter Rosalind.
God save you, brother.
And you, fair sister.
Oh, my dear Orlando, how it grieves me to see thee wear thy heart in a scarf.
It is my arm.
I thought thy heart had been wounded with the claws of a lion.
Wounded it is, but with the eyes of a lady.
Did your brother tell you how I counterfeited to swoon when he showed me your handkerchief?
Aye, and greater wonders than that.
Oh, I know where you are. Nay, 'tis true. There was never anything so sudden but the fight of 2 rams and Caesar's frasinical brag of I came, I saw, I overcame. For your brother and my sister no sooner met but they looked, no sooner looked but they loved, no sooner loved but they sighed, no sooner sighed but they asked one another the reason, no sooner knew the reason but they sought the remedy, and in these degrees have made a pair of stairs to marriage which they will climb incontinent or else be incontinent before marriage. They are in the very wrath of love, and they will come together. Clubs cannot part them.
They shall be married tomorrow, and I will bid the Duke to the nuptial. But oh, how bitter a thing it is to look into happiness through another man's eyes. By so much the more shall I tomorrow be at the height of heart heaviness. By how much I shall think my brother happy in having what he wishes for.
Why then, tomorrow I cannot serve your turn for Rosalind.
I can live no longer by thinking.
I will weary you then no longer with idle talking. Believe then, if you please, that I can do strange things. I have, since I was 3-year-old, conversed with a magician, most profound in his art, and yet not damnable. If you do love Rosalind, so near the heart as your jester cries it out, when your brother marries Aliena, shall you marry her? I know into what straits of fortune she is driven, and it is not impossible to me, if it appear not inconvenient to you, to set her before your eyes tomorrow, human as she is, and without any danger.
Speakest thou in sober meanings?
By my life, I do, which I tender dearly, though I say I am a magician. Therefore, put you in your best array. Bid your friends, for if you will be married tomorrow, you shall, and to Rosalind, if you will.
Enter Silvius and Phoebe.
Look, here comes a lover of mine and a lover of hers.
Youth, you have done me much ungentleness to show the letter that I writ to you.
I care not if I have. It is my study to seem despiteful and ungentle to you, and you there followed by a faithful shepherd. Look upon him and love him. He worships you.
Good shepherd, tell this youth what 'tis to love.
It is to be all made of sighs and tears, and so am I for Phoebe.
And I for Ganymede.
And I for Rosalind.
And I for no woman.
It is to be all made of faith and service, and so am I for Phoebe.
And I for Ganymede.
And I for Rosalind.
And I for no woman.
It is to be made all of fantasy, all made of passion, and all made of wishes, all adoration, duty, and observance, all humbleness, all patience and impatience, all purity, all trial, all observance, and so am I for Phoebe.
And so am I for Ganymede.
And so am I for Rosalind.
And so am I for no woman.
If this be so, why blame you me to love you?
If this be so, why blame you me to love you?
This be so, why blame you me to love you?
Who do you speak to? Why blame you me to love you?
To her that is not here, nor doth not hear.
Pray you, no more of this. 'Tis like the howling of Irish wolves against the moon. Silvius, I will help you if I can. Phoebe, I would love you if I could. Tomorrow meet me all together. I will marry you if ever I marry woman, and I'll be married tomorrow. Orlando, I will satisfy you if ever I satisfied man, and you shall be married tomorrow. Silvius, I will content you if what pleases you contents you, and you shall be married tomorrow. Orlando, as you love Rosalind, meet. Silvius, as you love Phoebe, meet, and as I love no woman, I'll meet. So fare you well. I have left you commands.
I'll not fail if I live.
Nor I.
Nor I.
And off they all run. Meanwhile, Touchstone and Audrey are together.
Tomorrow is the joyful day, Audrey. Tomorrow we will be married.
I do desire it with all my heart, and I hope it is no dishonest desire to be a woman of the world. Oh, here comes 2 of the banished Duke's pages.
Well met, honest gentlemen.
By my troth, well met. Come, sit, and a song.
For you, sit in the middle.
Shall we clap into it roundly without hawking or spitting or saying we are hoarse, which are the only prologues to a bad voice?
Your faith, and both in a tune like 2 gypsies on a horse.
Come, sing.
It was a lover and his last,
with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no,
that all the green cornfield did pass.
In springtime, the only pretty ring time,
when birds do sing, hey ding-a-ding-ding,
sweet lovers love the spring.
Between the acres of the rye,
a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no,
these pretty country folks would lie.
time, the only pretty ring time.
When birds do sing, hey, ding-a-ding-ding.
Sweet lovers love the spring.
Truly, young gentlemen, though there was no great matter in the ditty, yet the note was very untunable.
You are deceived, sir. We kept time. We not lost our time.
By my troth, yes, I counted but time lost to hear such a foolish song. God be with you, and God mend your voices. Come, Audrey!
And off they go. We are now in the forest for the final wedding. Enters Duke Senior, Amiens, Jake, Orlando, Oliver, and Celia.
Dost thou believe, Orlando, that the boy can do all this that he hath promised?
I sometimes do believe and sometimes do not. As those that fear they hope and know they fear.
And now Rosalind, Silvius, and Phoebe enter.
Patience once more, whilst our compact is urged. You say, if I bring in your Rosalind, you will bestow her on Orlando here?
That would I, had I kingdoms to give with her.
And Orlando, you say you will have her when I bring her?
That would I, were I of all kingdoms king.
Phoebe, you say you'll marry me if I be willing?
That will I, should I die the hour after.
But if you do refuse to marry me, you'll give yourself to this most faithful shepherd?
So is the bargain.
Silvius, you say that you'll have Phoebe if she will?
Though to have her and death were both one thing.
I have promised to make all this matter even. Keep your word, O Duke, to give your daughter, you yours, Orlando, to receive his daughter. Keep your word, Phoebe, that you'll marry me, or else refusing me to wed this shepherd. Keep your word, Silvius, that you'll marry her, if she refuse me. And from hence I go, to make these doubts all even.
Exit Rosalind and Celia.
I do remember in this shepherd boy some lively touches of my daughter's favour.
My lord, the first time that I ever saw him, methought he was a brother to your daughter. But, my good lord, this boy is forest born, and hath been tutored in the rudiments of many secret studies by his uncle, whom he reports to be a great magician, obscured in the circle of this forest.
Touchstone and Audrey enter.
There is sure another flood toward, and these couples are coming to the ark. Oh, here comes a pair of very strange beasts, which in all tongues are called fools.
Salutation and greetings to you all.
Good my lord, bid him welcome. This is the motley-minded gentleman that I have so often met in the forest. He hath been a courtier, he swears.
If any man doubt that, let me put into my purgation. I have trod a measure, I have flattered a lady, I have been politic with my friend, smooth with mine enemy, I have undone 3 tailors, I have had 4 quarrels, and like to have fought one.
And how was that ta'en up?
Faith, we met, and found the quarrel was upon the 7th cause.
How 7th cause? Good my lord, like this fellow.
I like him very well.
God ilge you, sir, I desire you of the like. I press in here, sir, amongst the rest of the country copulatives, to swear and to forswear, according as marriage binds and blood breaks. A poor virgin, sir, an ill-favoured thing, sir, but mine own. A poor humour of mine, sir, to take that no man else will, but rich honesty dwells like a miser, sir, in a poor house, as your pearl in your foul oyster.
By my faith, he is very swift and sententious.
But for the 7th cause, how did you find the quarrel on the 7th cause?
Upon a slice 7 times removed. Bear your body more seemingly, Audrey. As thus, sir, I did dislike the cut of the said courtier's beard. He sent me word, if I said his beard was not cut well, he was in the mind it was. This is called the retort courteous. If I sent him word again, it was not well cut, He would send me word. He'd cut it to please himself. This is called the whip. Modest. If again it was not well cut, he disabled my judgment. This is called the reply. Churlish. If again it was not well cut, he would answer, I speak not true. This is called the reproof. Valiant. If again it was not well cut, he would say, I lied. This is called the countercheck. Quarrelsome, and so to the lie circumstantial, and the lie direct.
And how oft did you say his beard was not well cut?
I durst not go further than the lie circumstantial, nor he durst not give me the lie direct, and so we measured swords and parted.
Can you nominate in order now the degrees of the lie?
Oh, sir, we quarrel in print by the book, as you have books for good manners. I will name you the degrees. First, the retort, courteous. Second, the quip, modest. Third, the reply, churlish. Fourth, the reproof, valiant. Fifth, the countercheck, quarrelsome. Sixth, the lie with circumstance. And seventh, the lie direct. All these you may avoid, but the lie direct, and you may avoid that too with an if. I knew when 7 justices could not take up a quarrel, but when the parties were met themselves, one of them thought but of an if, as if you said so, then I said so. And they shook hands and swore brothers. Your if is the only peacemaker, much virtue in if, yes.
Is not this a rare fellow, my lord? He's as good as anything, and yet a fool.
He uses his folly like a stalking horse, and under the presentation of that, he shoots his wit.
Corin, as the village elder, dressed as Hymen, the god of marriage, enters with Rosalind and Celia.
Then is there mirth in heaven when earthly things made even atone together. Good Duke, receive thy daughter. Hymen from heaven brought her, yea, brought her hither, that thou mightst join her hand with his, whose heart within his bosom is.
My Duke, to you I give myself, for I am yours. Orlando, to you I give myself, for I am yours.
If there be truth in sight, you are my daughter.
There be truth in sight. You are my Rosalind.
Sight and shape be true, why then my love adieu.
I'll have no father if you be not he. I'll have no husband if you be not he. Nor ne'er wed woman if you be not she.
Peace ho, I bar confusion. 'Tis I must make conclusion of these most strange events. Here's 8 that must take hands to join in Hymen's bands, if truth holds true contents. You and you no cross shall part. You and you are heart in heart. You to his love must accord, or have a woman to your lord. You and you are sure together, as the winter to foul weather. Whiles a wedlock hymn we sing, feed yourselves with questioning, that reason wonder may diminish, how thus we met, and these things finish.
Oh, my dear niece, welcome thou art to me, even daughter welcome in no less degree.
I will not eat my word, now thou art mine. Thy faith my fancy to thee doth combine.
And at this point, Jack Du Bois enters. He is the youngest brother of Orlando and Oliver.
Let me have audience for a word or two. I am the second son of old Sir Roland, that bring these tidings to this fair assembly. Duke Frederick, hearing how that every day men of great worth resorted to this forest, addressed a mighty power, which were on foot in his own conduct, purposely to take his brother here and put him to the sword. And to the skirts of this wild wood he came, where meeting with an old religious man, after some question with him, was converted, both from his enterprise and from the world, his crown bequeathing to his banished brother, and all their lands restored to them again, that were with him exiled. This to be true, I do engage my life.
Welcome, young man. Thou offerest fairly to thy brother's wedding. To one, his lands withheld, and to the other, a land itself at large, a potent dukedom. First, in this forest, let us do those ends that here were well begun and well begot, and after, every of this happy number shall have endured shrewd days and nights with us, shall share the good of our returned fortune according to the measure of their states. Meantime, forget this new-formed dignity and fall into our rustic revelry. Play, music, and you, brides and bridegrooms all, with measure heaped in joy, to the measures fall.
Sir, by your patience, if I heard you rightly, the Duke hath put on a religious life and thrown into neglect the pompous court?
Sir, he hath.
To him will I, out of these convertites, there is much matter to be heard and learned. Duke, you to your former honour I bequeath. Your patience and your virtue well deserves it. Orlando, you to a love that your true faith doth merit. And you, sir, you to your hand and love and great allies. And young shepherd, you to a long and well-deserved bed. Oh, and you, Motley, you to wrangling, for thy loving voyage is but for 2 months victualled. So to your pleasures, I am for other than for dancing measures.
Oh, stay, Jaques, stay.
To see no pastime I. What you would have, I'll stay to know at your abandoned cave.
Proceed. Proceed. We will begin these rites, as we do trust they'll end in true delights.
And there is a dance, and at the end of which Rosalind steps forward to address the audience.
It is not the fashion to see the lady the epilogue, but it is no more unhandsome than to see the lord the prologue. If it be true that good wine needs no bush, 'tis true that a good play needs no epilogue. Yet to good wine they do use good bushes, and good plays prove the better by the help of good epilogues. What a case am I in, then, that am neither a good epilogue, nor cannot insinuate with you in the behalf of a good play? I am not furnished like a beggar, therefore to beg will not become me. My way is to conjure you, and I'll begin with the women. I charge you, O women, for the love you bear to men, to like as much of this play as please you. And I charge you, O men, for the love you bear to women, as I perceive by your simpering none of you hates them, that between you and the women the play may please. If I were a woman and would kiss as many of you as had beards that pleased me, complexions that liked me, and breaths that I defied not, and I am sure as many as have good beards or good faces or sweet breaths will, for my kind offer, when I make curtsy, bid me farewell.
And that concludes As You Like It. We hope
Thank you very much, Nick. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of our final production in this series of 4 plays, As You Like It, tonight. We hope very much that you've enjoyed tonight, and that if you've seen the previous plays, that they have given you as much pleasure as we have experienced in putting them on. This has been very much a community effort that has been involving rainbow actors and also volunteer readers that we made an appeal for from the wider community. In fact, we were joined tonight by somebody from the Netherlands who is one of our readers. This play and the previous plays are available on YouTube, and I just checked, and the previous plays have in total been viewed 1,071 times. Last night we had somebody join us from Ecuador, so Rainbow Shakespeare is truly an international company. This has been a very fascinating journey in a new art form, and both Nick and I agree that there is scope for development of this, and that it will give pleasure to many people, particularly in difficult circumstances as we've experienced recently. Hopefully next year we will be back to some semblance of a normality, back up at Highdown Gardens, when we hope we will see some of you up there. There is a Facebook page for Rainbow Shakespeare if you want to keep up to date with the news. And once again, I hope that you will feel able to contribute to the funds via our GoFundMe page, and that is of course linked on the YouTube channel. As at tonight, we have raised over 85% of the sum that we're hoping to raise of £1,000. So if you have enjoyed it, do please contribute. And of course, as I said, the previous plays are available if you want to view them. Thank you very much for watching. And on behalf of the company, both tonight and the previous plays that we have run, we wish you good health and happiness. Thank you.